Currently, S&P 500 actually poised to open higher, though we're still a little bit removed from the pre-market highs on the SPY here. Take a look at the NASDAQ as well this morning. NASDAQ looking pretty similar. So SPY and NASDAQ, which again, lately they haven't always been doing this, they're certainly moving in tandem this morning. Take a look at the Dow as well. Dow also, much lighter volume, of course, but poised to open higher. And USO is going to be in focus because there are some reports that the US is willing to say to Iran, hey, we'll stop the siege, we'll ease up on the sanctions, but as long as you reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which again, we'll talk about this later, but also kind of begs the question, is the Strait open, given that the US has repeatedly said that they are controlling it? So I think there'll be a lot to discuss in terms of oil this morning, that is for sure. Now, in terms of events today, we're not supposed to get any comments from President Trump. We do have comments from Fed Sparkin coming out right now at 8 a.m. So if he says anything of note, I will certainly keep you guys posted. 9 a.m. we're going to get some housing data, 10 a.m. CB consumer confidence, and at 1 p.m. the 2-year note auction. So that's really what we're expecting here today when it comes to some of this economic data. And again, we are going to have oil, of course, in focus. President Trump has been very active on Truth Social, also posting about Canada. So that Canada-U.S. trade agreement very much remains on watch. Nvidia could be breaking its 7-day losing streak, the longest losing streak for the stock since 2022. That's something that we're going to be keeping an eye on. Also, of course, Bitcoin and gold, this whole debasement trade in focus as Bitcoin very briefly broke above 80,000. But with a lot to discuss, Sia, what's on your mind today?
There is a lot on my mind, just like today, where there's a lot going on in the news. We have Bitcoin definitely that broke the $80,000 mark at 9 p.m. around yesterday, and it carried, then it dumped, and it's still around 79,000 right now. There's oil, like you mentioned. There's a lot going on in the market. We're also going to be discussing the SEC's probe into certain Wall Street lenders and how Citadel ties into that as well. We have the PCE and GDP numbers coming in tomorrow. Stay with us. A lot to discuss over here.
So I guess, guys, we have the market gapping up right now. We're poised to open higher. I'm curious as to what you guys think would be the number one catalyst in each of your minds that could threaten this rally.
Threaten the rally? Well, yields probably going to be in focus. And anytime you have, look, Bessent's mentor, Druckenmiller, basically came out and said, he didn't say he was drunk for his idea to support long-term yields, but he essentially said he had it wrong. And if you just kick the can down the, road, eventually you're going to get hurt. Like, the real concern is that rates continue to go higher, and I don't care how strong Nvidia's earnings are, but if you do have yields continue to go, then that could be a big-time pressure. Like, yep. And ultimately, Bessent, he seems pretty set in his ways here that they can manipulate the long end of the yield curve, and he seems to think that it's not that big of a deal, but his mentor, I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical that this is the right move for the Treasury myself, so it makes you a little bit bearish. But that said, the market is up today on that 3% gap down in USO, so I don't want to seem overly bearish because it is a good start overall of thinking there could be progress when it comes to Iran. But my mind just can't get off through the 30-year.
Yeah, and I don't think you're alone in that either. Sean, what do you think is the biggest thing that could threaten this rally today?
Today, I'd like to see Nvidia continue its move on unit.
Okay, I like to see Nvidia continue its move actually higher and stop that 7-day losing streak, because right now we're ahead of earnings coming out tomorrow night, and I'd really like to see Nvidia continue to kick just a little bit, keep this rally in Bitcoin, right? Let's not see this sort of die down, and I think that right now today we're looking to sort of buck the trend a little bit, get a little higher. Data center worries, hopefully those can come through. We did hear with midterms coming up, some of these are looking to say pushing back against the communities, right? Like, some communities are not looking forward to these big data center installs, right? And I think that if we can get a little bit more positivity regarding data center usage and build outs, and then this Nvidia win streak can start again, we can get more excited, because 6 of the last 8 earnings reports, as we heard from Michael yesterday, have all resulted in negative turnarounds for the company, right? So they've been negative 6 of the last 8 days following their earnings report. Let's see if we can buck that trend tomorrow. I think if Nvidia doesn't give us what we want, this move down could be extended.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting too, doesn't give us what we want is specifically in terms of the actual move, because with NVDA, they almost always beat and raise. And they have record numbers, so it'll always be for them. It's going to be about, how does the market react? So that'll be interesting to see. But I think also I like that midterms were mentioned, because I think midterms could come into play for another area that we're looking at in the market, and that is going to be crypto. Because of course we do have, the Clarity Act in focus. You're going to want to see some pro-crypto. Congress people stay in their seats. You're going to want to see some pro-crypto senators. I think what other catalysts are you watching right now in that crypto space? Yeah, with Bitcoin just briefly cracking above that 80,000 level this morning.
Definitely, Avera. Like I said yesterday, it did crack around over, I would say, the $80,000 mark. That has also led to the dollar being a bit, I would say, pull back a little bit. Not too crazy, but the dollar did pull back. Overall, cryptocurrencies have been getting a boost since last week. We've been seeing that rally carry around. There's the confusion that we've been seeing also around the Clarity Act and what is going to be happening with that. But last week we also had Tom Lee saying that we're encouraged to see the ETH/BTC ratio at 0.02994 and rising. They also he also commented and said that the easing financial conditions will also be a tailwind for crypto. So I'm excited to see how that ties into crypto as someone who is not too into crypto, but is getting interested into the trades and how it looks like. I'm really interested to see where this goes with that tailwind.
So yeah, I mean, Sean, I guess my question is here. We have that break above that 81,000 level, however briefly, for Bitcoin. Do you think that that's maybe the top for now, or do you think we can continue to see breakout? What would you be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, we are looking forward to breakout, of course, right? I mean, I think that more positive talk from a Tom Lee type of guy would definitely help this, but it's just more about the SEC moving forward and not having this sort of deadlock in Congress, right? We had some, this guy, SEC Chair Paul Atkins, introducing some new regulatory aspects here, I think can help us with what crypto needs, and that is sort of an influx of buys, right? A lot of this move forward is a lot of heavy ETF inflows.
Yeah.
So I think that that's going to be a really good reason here to keep this move higher. I mean, here's the chart of Bitcoin. We landed over 81,000, but then stopped basically on a dime. And as we can see right now, we're trying to hold this 200 period moving average. I'd like to see it hold 77, 78,000. If we can do that, plus a lot of this positive commentary that we've sort of been looking at, I like it here. Tom Lee, BitMine, talking positive. We've seen the relationship with, you've been trading Ethereum a little bit more lately than the others. Basically, we just need this crypto off ramp, and maybe they've got it now with this Clarity Act.
Yeah, I mean, what about you, Neil? I guess, do you think that 80K is just, a quick distraction, or are there any other areas now in crypto? Because I know you sometimes look at Ethereum as well that could be worth switching to now.
I do. I mean, outside of the concern that we lost 80,000 twice as a level, there is the whole, hey man, it's literally a coin flip. I have a quarter around here somewhere. We can flip it and see whether or not the Clarity Act is ever going to get done. So but that being said, that's been the expectation for a while. So I know we keep focusing on it, but ultimately, there was a heck of a lot of short covering and liquidations that caused a good portion of this move. Like it was in some rapid, like 1.5 billion in a short period of time. So when you get that, and partly that was because, again, what Besant was doing over at the Treasury, which put people into a bit of a risk-on mode, for at least for a while, not everything sustained that move. I mean, rates went right back to where they were shortly after, but that short covering was real. So I think we need something else to get the next hump. Because like, if this was just a historic 3 or 4 day short covering rally, what's going to be the next catalyst to get us through the 80? And maybe we have like a little bit of a pause before we get to that, because there's good momentum, but it was so explosive for 4 days. And short covering rallies tend to do that, and they usually want to settle down a little bit before the next leg.
Yeah, well, you always talk here about the bear rallies, or the rallies in a bear market sometimes being even better than the rallies in a bull market. So that could always be something potentially here with crypto as well. I think maybe another thing that could help crypto in this whole market is you've got oil pulling back right here, guys, right? So you've got yesterday's sanctions announcement coming from Scott Bessant. So they're targeting a few areas first for sanctions of roughly 60 different entities, et cetera. It's going to be like, missiles for now, but they said digital assets, Sia, could be kind of the next frontier when it comes to these sanctions.
Absolutely. I'm going to let you elaborate on that as well. But we also had Treasury Secretary Scott Bessant saying that we find the best way to engage with countries that are now supporting and also will be continuing doing business with Iran, that quiet diplomacy is the best way to deal with that. And we are level setting with every country to let them know our expectations as well. So let's take a brief look at the countries that are involved here and what's going on. So according to the US government, China is the largest and biggest buyer of Iranian oil, and this serves as a rather crucial link for the global economy for Tehran and accounts about 90% of its oil exports. The UAE has also been a major trading hub for Iran. You have Turkey, Iraq, also India that's in the mix. So there's a lot of countries to consider here. There's a lot going on. Well, you could say it's not just the United States, it's not just China, it is the other half of the world as well that will be getting affected by this. And just something I read that President Donald Trump's personal oil and gas stock holdings may have gained as much as $15.5 million as of this year due to the climb in energy here as well.
Yeah, and I think too, guys, what you have going on as well is the fact that Bessent hinted there could be a major financial institution getting some kind of sanctions. They didn't specify who. That could happen this week, so maybe something to be aware of. Now, I'll start with you, Neil, here. I'm kind of curious as to what you think about oil as a trading vehicle, because we've talked a lot about how now we'll get these news in oil and oil almost doesn't react. This is a big gap. Do you think this changes things for oil as a trading vehicle or as a way to look at the market as a trade?
It's almost like it's a breaking trend because this economic D-Day, maybe we don't believe it's going to be as necessary. It'll be necessary, and that Iran might capitulate over this. All they have to do is say that they could threaten China, because let's be real, like all the real money is coming from China for Iran, because that's oil. And if there's even the smallest hint of a crackdown in the fight on the banks, which is who facilitates this, and it's not to say that the U.S. would do it, but that little bit of a hint, that's probably going to be enough to put some serious pressure. Like, it's a legitimate threat, and ultimately China is going to want to make sure that they still have access to USD and they can still get their oil. So I can see this as a very viable threat, but from just a pure technical standpoint, it doesn't really matter whether this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. I think it's at least a little bit of a bearish pullback, and the last time we had a bit of a turn, we dropped 15-20% in a matter of days. I'd like to think that you could see the 120 on USO later this week. The only problem with that is you're always headline driven. All it takes is like one strike here. This is all assuming that there's no actual military escalation, and it just sort of stays in talk. But if there is an escalation, that goes out the window, and we still have to be listening to the headlines. When you talk about the UAE, like, one of the reasons why they're thrust into it is because, I mean, ultimately you've literally had like 3 fronts to this conflict, and once they were in it, it's just like, okay, now we have another problem to deal with. So all it takes is one person, I guess, reacting the wrong way to a bomb thrown or whatever it might be, and then that downtrend that I think we're in, because I think it's a viable threat. I think it makes a heck of a lot of sense for them to do this, choke the money, and that's probably the strongest message that you can send. But if someone lobs the wrong bomb somewhere, and it doesn't really matter.
Well, I like that you mentioned being headline driven, because I know we've talked about sometimes maybe there being less of a reaction as of late to these headlines. So Sean, I guess the next time you hear an oil or Middle East related headline, are you going to be looking first at oil or at the market?
That's an interesting question, actually, because we do trade USO. We like to see the moves, and it's a dramatic move overnight. You know what I was actually looking forward to was the inventories number coming tomorrow. Because I really do think that a lot of what we're talking about now is in relationship to, all the geopolitical noise that's happening, right? But what about actual supply? Like, when you mentioned, Sia mentioned there, all these countries that are in huge demand, China, India, even here in North America, is there enough oil out there right now at current prices to drive proper supply and demand points, right? And I think down 3% here today obviously is helping, and it's great. But all this friction that's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, what will that actually do to actual supply? And at the end of the day, we still need oil. This is massively production happening across this whole world. Even these data centers, right? These build-outs, this equipment needs oil to run. They need this machinery to get kicking around. So I just feel that a lot of this has happened now. Oil's finally starting to come back a little bit, making things a little more affordable. I think this is actually a good sort of tailwind here, for the general market if oil prices can come down. And if we can finally solve the supply disruption, then I do think that oil comes down, could be down 10, 15 bucks overnight. Next thing you know, bang, we're back on market here, and oil's back to a much more reasonable price. So yeah, I do like the fact that this talk seems to be helping. And if we could just get this all solved and then watch out to see what happens with oil inventories, and if they're actually a little stocked higher, then maybe we can get the price of oil to the downside.
Yeah, and Sia, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with what Sean is saying. There are a lot of countries to consider here. It's not just, like I mentioned, the United States or China, but also Iran's currency, that is the Iranian Rial, has dropped to a record low of more than 2 million against the US dollar on the open market. So that is not a good look for Iran here for the number. Obviously, we know that they were going to get hit. They are continuing to get hit. But yeah, it's positive that the talks are happening. We've always been positive that the talks are happening. We're optimistic here, and let's just hope that something good comes out of this.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned they're a record low, and I want to talk about something else that had a low and then kind of blew up here, the situational awareness LP situation. So our friend Leopold Aschenbrenner, we know he had the situational awareness fund at the very tail end of July. Citadel scoops up all of the assets. Then apparently they actually already sold a lot of these assets. But now there's an SEC probe into this whole transaction, Sia.
Absolutely, you're right about that. So the SEC is probing the timing of trades that have triggered these margin calls and also communications with the hedge fund's top lenders. So that does include Goldman Sachs, you have JPM, Citigroup, Bank of America, and its use of leverage for trade. So something to note is that such a regulatory inquiry does not really necessarily result in rather enforcement actions. The only thing that it's doing as of now is rather requesting information, and that alone, Adara, does not imply that any of the firms are targeted for a certain investigation, but it is an inquiry. That is a word that you want to hold on to here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some puns in the chat, like Leopold. We know there's Crash and Brenner. I've seen Crash and Burner. But I mean, all jokes aside, I'll start with you here, Sean, because I know you've talked a lot about the Leopold low. Do you think this is actually maybe just a nothing burger here, this investigation, or do you think it maybe has more to do with what we could look for going forward in terms of how these funds operate and then how types of things like what happened with Citadel?
Yeah, I think it's definitely more of a look forward type of situation. I mean, we want to talk about the big banks being too big to fail. I mean, what about some of these AI companies? I mean, we're obviously seeing here that you could definitely leverage up into these names, and then when you get caught sort of with your pants down, you can see what winds up happening with all this liquidation, right? So I just think it's Citadel story. It's a dark pool story. There's a lot of this unwind that obviously happened there in the fund. And I think they need to look into it. I mean, should some of these hedge funds be able to hold such huge positions and so concentrated where they are literally kind of choking down that market, and all of a sudden, let's not kid ourselves, right, Neil? I mean, most of the people in the know knew what was going on.
Of course.
You know, and then all of a sudden when the gun is turned back, then it's like, oh gosh, we're over levered. Is this a possibility in the market? Yes. Could it be happening right now? Maybe. Who knows? There could be a trade like this that happens in oil. There could be a trade that happens. We saw the big banks. We just talked about that, too big to fail. So I think that AI has created itself such a niche market right now that if this all comes collapsing down, we could see a huge epic move in the NASDAQ. I think there needs to be somebody looking into this and managing some of these positions before it sort of turns against them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Neil, too, I have another question kind of off what Sean said, because I found it was interesting. You know, we have the whole too big to fail, the AI, all of this, that, a lot of different factors. Do you think this is a situation where there are going to be any consequences potentially levied against any of these banks or firms as a result of this investigation?
I'm always pretty skeptical. You start saying,
Me too.
You put the word consequences and banks in the same sentence, and my first reaction is probably not. Yeah. But the reality is it's a smart look forward, because let's be real. When was the last time you had any kind of a financial shock, whether it was regional banks, housing, in this particular case, it's the AI leverage. When is there ever nothing else under the hood? It's about who could be in a bigger position that threatens essentially the entirety of the market, where this could end up bleeding bigger. And that's, I think, where the concern, and it's rightfully so. Like, anytime we see something like this and the backroom deals, and okay, well, how bad could it have been if it had been somebody else? And what do we need to consider? And then throw in the whole, like, this, everything is so intertwined with all of this circular funding that it's not, I think everyone realizes that it's only going to take one event. And when you have too much leverage, we've seen that problem time and time again. And the truth of the matter is, this is an economy and a world economy built on leverage. It's not going anywhere. So they're right that they should be looking into it. But if we're talking about consequences, there's consequences and repercussions if you eat my cornbread. Yeah. There's probably not any consequences for banks doing what banks do. They might get some slaps on the wrist every now and then. In this particular case, I don't know that anything's going to come of it. But I think they're right to be looking at it, and definitely right to be concerned that this could have bled further had they been a little bit bigger.
I mean, part of the problem too, guys, is the fact that like the retail gets left behind in all of this, right? Like we're sitting here, I'm counting the money every single day. Like how much have we lost in this route? Like what is going on? And then I push the panic button because I sell, only to understand that Citadel and all these guys are unwinding these positions. So they're well aware that once this unwind is happening, that they're going to be left with some, probably favorable positions and, bank error in their favor. Meanwhile, us as retail, we're like seeing, oh, it broke the 200 period moving average, sell. It did this, it did that. And next thing you know, you're selling Marvell down there at 180 or whatever, just to open your eyes back 2 days later and it's back to 240, right? And so I think there's a huge disadvantage to the general public. And I think that's something that the SEC needs to make sure that they cover the tracks because again, it's retail that is really helping pump and sort of drive this move higher. And they deserve to be in the know just as much as some of these insiders. And I think that at some point, look, the market is what it is.
Exactly.
Right? It's been like this for years, right? You can go back into the 1920s and people were advantaged and disadvantaged, right? It's happening again here today. And that's why I think shows like what we're doing here and discussing these things is important to understand that the market isn't just in a straight line one way. There's a lot of underpinning happening there. And I think this sort of situational awareness definitely brought up the awareness to the market of over leverage, right? 45 billion down to 10 billion. I mean, that's a pretty big unwind.
Very, very true. So I want to talk as well here about something, impacting retail traders, impacting everybody, and that's going to be that PCE print that we're going to get coming through tomorrow morning, along with GDP. We're right now just under 24 hours away from this number. So, I mean, as you guys can see, I made this infographic, posted this over the weekend. You actually have month over month getting a little bit cooler here for both core and non-core, but year over year PCE fairly steady. And I mean, it's not the only number we're going to get tomorrow because GDP also in focus. Yeah.
GDP is also in focus. So let's just take a look at this. The advanced estimate from the BEA has showed us that the U.S. economy had expanded an annualized 1.5% in the second quarter of 2026, below the 2.1% here. And for the first quarter and forecast of 2.1%, this is the advanced estimate that the BEA had showed according to Trading Economics here. And core PCE has increased by 0.1% from the previous month in June this year. That's less than the market forecast of 0.2%, Dara, and from the 0.2% of a 0.2% rise. So from the previous year, the core PCE price index has shot up by an expected 3.3%. That is well above, as we do know, with the Fed's target of 2%.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Neil, I'll go to you here because I think this is going to be a pretty interesting look ahead of Nvidia earnings. I guess for tomorrow, if you were looking, what do you think might be the bigger catalyst for the market? Is it going to be these Nvidia earnings, or is it going to be this very spicy pre-market number?
I'm going to say Nvidia. It's not. It's a spicy number, but I'm going to say Nvidia earnings. But that's not to take away from the PC print, because ultimately, like, forget about what the Fed wants, forget what the president wants. I mean, the Treasury wants this not to be a hot number. Like, that's even more important, because like that's what the Treasury needs to happen, is to get the Fed at least not against them. Forget about them in line, because let's be real, they want rate cuts so they can it's easier to obviously pay down the debt. You've got record debt. Like, no one's trimming the deficit. Those types of things are not happening. Fiscal responsibility, that's what Druckenmiller was talking about. That's not happening. So you need to get the Fed at least not against you and thinking pause or obviously down the line cuts. That's not anytime soon. The market is still slightly saying that we could have rate increase. Not as much as it was before. We're still hanging on likely that it's going to be a pause, but you just don't want the Fed against you if you're the Treasury. So a hot print is aimed directly at them, and it's like your move. And I'm not sure what Besant's response is going to be, whether he just continues to stay on track. So look, Nvidia is going to be more important, because right now it's all about data center, AI, and that growth. And everyone's concerned about the circular financing more than anything else. But we can't ignore this PC print. If it runs hot, it might not be an immediate negative response, but I think over the next couple of weeks, we'll feel that pain.
Yeah, we're going to go over in a second here to options, but I want to get your thoughts as well, Sean, because we usually see at least some kind of reaction to numbers, especially as large as PCE, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. Do you think, with the market kind of scared ahead of Nvidia earnings, that there's maybe less of a chance we get a reaction, or it might be a smaller reaction?
No, I think it's going to be reaction as per usual. I mean, we've seen some of these numbers come out both hot and cold, and the market definitely has a reaction. But then by the time 9:30 hits, we've sort of retraced or, gathered sort of momentum back to where we were before the number. But I think this is just a prelude to Jackson Hole. I mean, this is going to give, if as Neil said, if this does come hot or, wherever this winds up, it'll be a talking point. And I think I just put on my screen right here, if we want to share it, it's what we've been talking about. There's still 62% chance that there's absolutely no hike at all back to it. So we're at 60-40 right now. That's been pretty consistent since we got the numbers last week. So I'm not sure those are actually going to change. But at the same time, I think it's something that will sort of, the dog that wags the tail there will be tomorrow's number. And remember, NVIDIA's after hours, right? Jackson Hole is what, Thursday?
That'll be Friday morning is when you get the speech.
Yeah, so we still get a little bit of time before the speeches. And again, it's gonna have to be reacting to something. The rate cut aspect is definitely not in, right? I mean, unless this comes super, super cool, maybe we cut rates. But I think this is gonna stand pat 60-40. Well, as Neil said, where's that quarter? Let's flip a coin into the next interest rate decision on September the 16th. And yeah, Dara, I do think that this PCE number will have an effect. I mean, look, the Fed, Neil, as we all know, and as everybody on this desk knows and everyone watching, is supposed to be data dependent. So let's see where this data comes out. And hopefully this, officially will give us an idea. And we'll check these numbers tomorrow after the PCE and see if there's sort of offsides. But I still think it's going to be a 60-40 type of thing. And look, haven't the last couple of the CPI and PPI, they all came in roughly in line?
More or less.
So maybe AI and all this kind of stuff is helping us create more accurate numbers. And if that's the case, then tomorrow will come in as expected and we'll move forward with that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a market-wide look. Let's take a look at some individual stocks and options over here with Joe.
All right, guys, good morning and welcome back. We're going to take a look at some of the options activity from yesterday. So some key resistance and support zones, guys. We're going to kick things off with some put contracts here on NVDA leading into the earnings report tomorrow after the bell. 4:20 sharp, guys. Make sure you stay tuned. Now, what we are going to be looking at is considering we had a 7-day falling streak, a 7-day red streak here on NVDA. Where is the bottom? I don't know. Potentially, if this report isn't perceived very well, this is the level that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And there's also some size at 195. But first things first, expiring on Friday, guys, this $200 marker. If we continue to slide after the bell, this is where I'm going to be looking for a potential rebound. Open interest sitting around 32,000 contracts. And volume at 27,000, opened and closed on yesterday's session. And now you can see we're sitting on a $4 spread, ladies and gentlemen. How do we tell this is a put contract? Simple. There's a dash in front of this. Your delta is always going to be negative when you are looking at puts. So we're sitting at 27 cents there and 2 cents at your gamma levels. And then your vega also sitting around 7 cents, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, multiplied by 100 is his options contract. Now, here it is. This is the specific put contract, the $200 strike price. This went on a little bit of an appreciation run yesterday, guys. So from around $1.20 all the way to a high of around $3, that's going to give you north of 100% return on this specific level, on this specific contract. I'm going to be looking for 200 to hold if we continue to sell off leading into the report. Moving forward, if we can, there we go, perfect. Put activity here on the Qs and the overall market. $700 marker here, guys, going to be expiring at the end of the day. So I'm going to be looking for intraday support levels, and that's going to lead us right to this $706 strike price. Open interest sitting around 12,000, and on yesterday's session, 45,000 open and closed. Moving forward, we're going to look at the S&P 500 now. Support level, once again, just in case we continue our intraday slides, 762 is going to be that level where I'm going to be looking to hold. If we breach that, there is some more size at 760, so there might be a little bit of a supply zone and congestion, which is good and can possibly back our thesis on that we get a rebound if we continue to sell, and then we can maybe find some form of a recovery. Now, open interest sitting around 10,000 and volume at 8,400 contracts open and closed on yesterday's session. Now, if you go a strike price higher, you're going to see that in the 6 digits, all right? And that's the volume. So SPY, definitely the most traded contracts within the options world. Now, moving forward, last but not least, MSTR on people's mind once again. Listen, BM&R almost 100% off of the lows, and a nice return here in MSTR. But where's this potential ceiling in the crypto world? We're going to be looking at this $130 strike price expiring on Friday. Their most amount of open interest is going to be sitting around that around this 130 market, with 21,000 contracts still open, 22,000 on yesterday's session, open and closed. Now, as for the bid and the ask, $5 spread, we're not worried about that. Our delta is positive here, guys. This is a call contract, 30 cents there, 2 cents on your gamma levels, and your Vega sitting around 4 cents as well. But last but not least, the contract in itself appreciating pretty nice here, $2 to a high of around 450. That's going to give you over 100% return, but then loses the majority of its value as Bitcoin and MicroStrategy cooled off in the latter half of the day. Let's send it back to Adara.
Yeah, I mean, something that's definitely not cooling off right now, interest in these IPOs. I actually just read, apparently the owner of Dunkin', Arby's, Sonic, Buffalo Wild Wings, Jimmy John's, they're called Firebrands. They're considering an IPO by the end of the year. That's in the US, but even in China, we talked about the Shein IPO coming out. That's, I think, expected to hit on September 1st. That would be next Tuesday. But you also have, again, 3-year high overall for China onshore IPOs. Let's talk a little bit, Sia, about this IPO sensation lately.
Let's do it. We have definitely, Shein has been the I would say, quote unquote, long-awaited IPO. As of yesterday, they've launched it, and it's aiming to raise up to $1.8 billion US dollars at a valuation that will be around close to the number $27 billion that is in US. So for Shein, the valuation drop here is something also that you do want to consider. It is down 70% almost from a peak of nearly $100 billion US dollars in the year back in 2022. And key dates for this is also something that you do want to look at. Is 31st of August of this year, with trading that'll start on the 1st of September in 2026. So that is something that you do want to remember. And like you mentioned, Adara, China's onshore IPO fundraising has also reached a 3-year high that has topped around $30 billion in this year. That's driven by, you guessed it, massive AI and tech sector listings. So since July, this onshore IPO proceeds have crossed $17.7 billion, outpacing the entirety of the third quarter of 2023. So you have major companies like CXMT as well, and you have Unitree Robotics that have debuted with a massive valuation on the star market. Also, other heavyweights here like YMTC are seeking up to $4.9 billion, close to $5 billion in Shanghai.
Sean, it's interesting. We know we talked about last year. Every time we think we have IPO season with the CoreWeave, Circle, Figma, it kind of starts petering out a little bit later. With so many high-profile IPOs, even in the US, with Anthropic expected to come later this year, maybe even OpenAI, do you think we're going to, is this going to be like boom or bust, I think, for IPO season right now?
I mean, I think when we're talking about China a little bit there with Shein, I think that, the Chinese market, I have it up right here. I mean, the China 50 has been doing quite well right now. And I think what it goes to show is there's so much money globally out there, even just sitting on the sidelines, looking to invest in some of these good businesses, especially new ones, right? And I actually wanted to show, and they're bypassing. The other thing too is there's a lot of regulatory hurdles potentially when you list in New York and in NASDAQ and over here in North American markets. So going out and listing over in Hong Kong and India or somewhere like that, we do know that now these markets, globalization is really hit, right? We don't really care where it goes out at. We're investing in Alibaba, we're investing in a lot of these Chinese names. I mean, here's a name, Jersey Mike. You just dropped a whole bunch. I don't know what you said, Buffalo Wild Wings. There's a whole bunch of different names in there that I think we can all get excited about coming from IPO land. And Jersey Mike's has been, well received, 21 bucks there. This is on the daily chart, all the way back up to 23.50. And just, it's a pretty stable company. Did come out at a huge valuation. I think much more likely that a lot of these other chains will follow just because of the valuation that they got. It's an easy way to cash out. But no, I think there's money on the sidelines. And hey, I'm looking to invest in new businesses, right? I mean, I think it's a good way to diversify. And no, I don't think the IPO market's drying up. I mean, Anthropic's going to come out at a bigger valuation than SpaceX. So where's the money for all of that? There must be money out there. So yeah, I think that what will wind up happening is as Anthropic comes to market, Neil, we saw this with SpaceX, they started selling some of the Rocket Labs of the world and AST Mobile and all that. So I think as we get ready for Anthropic to come out, maybe you'll see some pressure on some of the the mega cap names. including the Googles and the Amazons and whatnot, just in case that IPO doesn't go well. But I think we've seen with SpaceX right now hovering around that 135 mark. Hey, man, I mean, that's the price that everybody got in early. Did it hold some of the high marks? No, it didn't. But I think, yeah, knock on wood, let's see how bad this goes. But think about it. We're supporting SpaceX that really doesn't have any revenues.
Right.
This is going to be, 10, 20 years down the line type of story. So what about Anthropic? They're being talked about right now, and they're a hype company. So I think Anthropic will go out without any problems. And I like the fact that we're raising money outside of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I know, Neil, you've talked about taking these opening prints and some of these IPOs as practice. I think it's certainly really good advice. I guess what I'm wondering is, what are you going to start looking for in some of these IPOs, again, leading up to your Anthropics and your OpenAIs, that would make you maybe nervous about some of these opening prints? What would be the change in the tide in IPO season for you personally?
For that trade on the first day, if it's big enough, there's enough interest. It almost doesn't matter what I think about Anthropic going to go for the long. I think off that open. And one thing that you can shift, if you think it might be a little bit weaker than normal, you could size down. You could anticipate that maybe it will initially try to shake people out and then get the long after that. But it's actually something else that's a little bit more interesting from a trading aspect. And that's what we saw happen with SpaceX and then Rocket Lab and some of the just everything else in the space trade. Like you're gonna get as we get other IPOs out there, because Duncan's parent is going to be IPOing as well. Oura is going to be IPOing. That's a bit of a crowded market. I could look at a name like Garmin, let's just say, when Oura comes out. And maybe that can be a short-term top for them. And then all of a sudden you can have another trade on top of that where you're not thinking about Oura specifically or alone. Well, there might be an opportunity for you to fade Garmin as the hype goes into it, right? And this is nothing against any, I don't want to just throw Kava out there or whatever, but when the Duncan parrot comes to IPO, you might start thinking about, okay, what other fade style trades can you take as the euphoria, because IPOs can signal a top. Why are you raising money? Because you think this is a great time for you to extract value. And oftentimes it can signal a top in a given sector. And that's the other side of the trade that maybe we don't pay attention to because, hey, just taking the opening print is so good that that's all we focus on. Well, pull up a chart on SpaceX Day. And it was just as easy to have, you could have shorted the Destiny 100 was probably the easiest short I have ever seen in my entire life. And don't get me wrong, SpaceX was a great trade. No one's complaining about the SpaceX trade. But it was arguably easier to just short DXYZ the second that IPO came out. It was unbelievable. And remember, with Anthropic is now 19% of DXYZ. No, that's something that we should pay. Yeah, 19, almost, I think it's 19.2, something along those lines. And what that did, I mean, it's not funny if you were holding on to it, but it's kind of comical how crazy it dropped. It's been on a bit of a run. When Anthropic comes out, let's be real, there's less of a reason for anyone to have this.
Yeah.
And so we could see, I don't think it'll be as big because obviously SpaceX was a bigger portion of DXYZ at the time, but it still, I think, will be a pretty big shock here. And I think that's the trade that, it's not that we've ignored it, because I think we're focusing on the right spot. The big IPO that day is what you should be focused on, but there is another aspect that you can take advantage of. I think DXYZ for Anthropic. I mean, with Oura, I mean, you could look at a Garmin. Maybe that one's not big enough, but I think the sympathy trade where you're selling some of these other names deserves some attention.
I think that's a really good point to make there, Neil, as well. Now, in terms of sympathy, another way we look at sympathy sometimes is with earnings. You've got earnings just across the gamut throughout this whole week. It's not just Nvidia, guys. You've got Thursday night, pretty massive one as well, with a lot of these retail favorites like IREN and AFRM reporting. What names are standing out to you for this earnings calendar, Sia?
I would say IREN is standing out for me, Adira, and I do want to talk about the sentiment that you do want to consider here. So investors, and I've been looking at IREN myself for some time since we've made the stock picks. So investors are, I would say, and will be focused on monitoring the transition of IREN's AI cloud services revenue. Also, that has been bolstered by, I would say, these multi-year contracts like the Microsoft data center deployment that you saw, also against the fluctuating Bitcoin mining hardware revenues. But for AFRM also, let's take a look. That analysts are expecting a revenue of approximately $1.11 billion, and that is up 26% roughly, I would say, year over year. Earnings per share EPS estimate of 33 cents to the range of 82 cents. That depends on the specific consensus mode, I would say here. But yeah, you have AFRM, IRN also reporting. You have Zoom that is also supposed to be reporting as of today. Yeah, lots of names here.
So I'll start with you, Neil, but I'm going to ask you guys both the same question because I'm very curious. We talk a lot about NVIDIA earnings. We'll talk about it again in the rundown. I kind of want to leave NVIDIA to the wayside a bit here. You've got a whole bunch of other sectors, right? You've got these SaaS names reporting, some of the cybersecurity reporting. You've got dollar stores reporting. I mean, you know, retail trading favorites. Of all of these sectors, again, excluding NVIDIA for a moment, which of these sectors are you most interested in seeing earnings for in the back half of this week?
I'm going to go with one that probably no one is, well, maybe not no one because Sia just mentioned it, but Affirm. Like, if you think about, okay, like, no one said anything about Dick so far, and I don't have a pun in mind, and I probably could come up with one, but they're getting trashed today.
Yeah.
You see Nike down, retail is down. You know, buy now, pay later, Affirm, that's going to be a good litmus test for how the consumer is also doing. We already saw Walmart get smoked a little bit. Like, everybody has been pointing to that weakness. Klarna got destroyed when they reported last week. Just a week ago, Klarna got smoked, and they're still at some of those lows. So I think like affirming this take on retail could be nasty. Maybe not just for them. They've been a much better chart, and they've been performing much better than Klarna. So maybe it won't be as bad. But I think that could show us that there's even more weakness in the consumer when it comes to discretionary spending. We're already seeing a few retail names that are just on the precipice of death. Like look at Nike's chart and probably make you want to throw up in your mouth a little bit. And I think that's the kind of thing that could be the straw that broke the camel's back. And remember, from a trading aspect, if you're looking for also the things that are going to move the most, well, I don't know how many people were saying Klarna was going to be the biggest mover, and then all of a sudden it was when we came in that morning. I feel like Affirm could end up doing the same thing, where it could be one of the most volatile names this week.
Yeah, what about you, Sean? I mean, biggest underrated earnings play or earnings sector this week that isn't NVIDIA? I think I might know your answer, but I'm curious what you say here.
What do you think I'm going to say?
Well, I thought you were going to say Marvell, but I don't know if that counts.
Okay, no. I'm going to go with cybersecurity. I mean,
I like that.
With CrowdStrike and PanW coming through, I mean, let's just wait to see it. Is cybersecurity going to be just a line item on these budgets? Because you can't go without it right now, And so let's just try to figure out, is the AI story helping or hurting? I mean, I have the chart up here at PanW. Some of these names up 60, 70% year to date. I mean, what a huge move. We've seen pullbacks before into the 50-period moving average. We have to hold these levels. So CrowdStrike coming, Palo Alto. I just want to see if indeed some of this Anthropic, and we had that funny story about Claude with the CEO there on CrowdStrike trying to figure out, can we replicate my business or not? But yeah, no, just looking at the chart here, I like to see these names hold with expected moves of 5 to 10% on these. It would be interesting. Are there new partnerships being announced? Are sort of some of these information technology officers still going in on Palo Alto, on CrowdStrike? What does it look like as far as cybersecurity? I'd like to see those hold, because that's the big software play. We know what CRMs, they're getting hit. We understand how that's all working, but I'm of the belief that this is a buy the dip sector. If we get hit on cyber, I mean, especially with what's been happening there with Iran and some of these, states that are coming after major corporations. When was the last time we actually heard of a major breach? I mean, I feel like some of these cyber names have done well.
Don't jinx us.
But no, I know, but that's the next thing, right? Is that some of the Russian, it's a way to fight back some of this big corporate espionage, right? And I think that right now we have to hold out hope that the cyberspace winds up having good quarters, because right now I know that a lot of our positions are maybe overweighted at this point just because of the move they've had this year. So let's see if it can still hold up. So for me, it's cyber. I know we're having a couple audio issues on the board, but we also do now have some drilling happening right now. So we want to bear with everybody. But yeah, it's been a great sort of change up here with format, and I like this discussion. So
yeah, I mean, as do I. And I mean, I do want to take a moment there to mention CrowdStrike. I think they've recovered really nicely from that July 19th, 2024 hullabaloo. So we'll give them credit for that. And of course, all jokes about that post from George Kurtz, CEO of CrowdStrike aside, stock recovery has been pretty nice. I want to talk about Canada and the US, because I know we had this deadline, the trade talks collapsed, but both the US and Canada are talking an awful lot about it still. So I think it is worth mentioning here from a market and overall awareness perspective. President Trump shared this post at 6:58 this morning, saying that the U.S. is, quote, giving serious consideration to changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America, and that we don't expect to doing much business with Ontario any longer. Bit of a typo there. Then I also got comments a couple minutes ago while we were having this conversation about cybersecurity and about earnings. We've got Trade Minister LeBlanc of Canada saying that the Canadian government intends to announce retaliatory tariffs today. What other aspects of this Canada-U.S. trade story do you think people should be aware of right now, Sia?
I feel like there are a lot of things that you do want to be aware of. As of today, we will have Ottawa that will be announcing countermeasures, also new support as well for Canadian workers and businesses. Finance Minister will be also there at the meeting around 11 a.m., I would say, for today. So the products that are subject to counter tariffs will be diverse and also have readily available Canadian alternatives already. U.S. President Donald Trump, as you do know it, Adara, you did say, on the other hand, had continued yesterday's heated rhetoric and also said that the U.S. will be thinking of renaming Lake Ontario to Lake America. We also have that. There was also a lot of political debate happening. We had Ontario Premier Doug Ford also step in. We had Alberta's Premier Daniel Smith also step in. There was a lot going on. PM Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, had also said that Canada may need to move away from dollar retaliatory tariffs and also start using more, I would say, targeted countermeasures that are aimed at primarily protecting Canadian businesses and workers. So we do have a lot of things to consider here. He's also said that it's not a surprise that the U.S. is pursuing these unjustified tariffs.
I mean, how do you feel, Neil, about, I accidentally rhymed there, how do you feel about this tariff story? Do you think it's kind of a nothing burger, and what sectors would you be looking out for should we get these retaliatory tariffs later?
Well, before we talk about this ridiculous story, it's not a ridiculous story. We see it in the chat, everybody, and we are working on some audio issues for sure, but that's not the only thing that we see in the chat, Adara. We see traders with the right read and the right setup, but the wrong trading size. And the truth is, you have the skills, everybody. Your account's just too small. Trade Funder is changing that with 100K for stocks, 25K for options, and that's today. You keep 80% as a payout, and you're paid every Friday without risking your own money. It's $9.99 to start, and you're refunded on your first qualifying payout. You can start within 1 hour. There's no evaluation or background checks, just you and the trading size that you have been missing. Scan the QR code you see on screen in front of you. That's tradefunder.com, and you can choose stock or options. Okay, if we're going back to this story, I mean, how seriously do we want to take the Lake Ontario, Lake America thing?
No.
I'm not. It doesn't matter. It's the name of it. It doesn't.
What about the Gulf of America?
It doesn't. But here's the thing. That doesn't even matter to. Like, who does it matter to?
Gulf of America.
Call it whatever you want. I call it one thing. You call it another. What difference does it end up making? It actually doesn't make a difference. However, if you're concerned about autos and manufacturing and steel, well, this is a bit of a big deal. It's the uncertainty that goes out. Like, people are starting to think about 2027 budgets. You don't know what your revenues are going to be on our side of the border. You might not know what your input costs are going to be for manufacturers in the U.S. It's a very niche thing, and I get it. It's probably not threatening the bigger aspects of the economy that we're usually talking about when we trade, but it does certainly. It's going to suck for a lot of Canadian businesses if this drags on. There's no question about that. And there's going to be a few manufacturers in the U.S. that I think that hurt's the wrong word, but are going to feel a little bit of uncertainty. I don't think it's going to have a large overall market impact. That's just the truth. I know we are a big trade partner, but outside of a couple of key sectors, it's a little bit of a, I hate to call it a nothing burger because it's a really big deal here where we sit. But for most of the market that we're looking at, it's not really going to move the needle too much.
Is it from here?
So I have a question for you, Sean, kind of off of what you said, Neil. I like that you specifically mentioned, these budgets, and then you got to thinking about what happened to the market on February 20th when, the trade courts didn't side with the Trump tariffs, the market had that big move. I guess if you get any kind of retraction of these tariffs, do you think the market will still get super excited, or a little bit of a boy that cried wolf situation?
I'm not even sure the market's really reacting at all, even right now, and we're kind of like at the peak of all of this here, Adara. So, I mean, you can look at names like Ford, Stellantis, Magna, as 50% tariffs on some of these auto parts is huge. There's actually a stat that there's over 7 times back and forth over the border to actually assemble a car.
It's great.
And so all these tariffs are definitely hitting the bottom line. So what you're talking about, I think there's going to be certain impact on, you know, individual stocks. I just don't like all the like, oh, we're going to cut off your power, and it's all this tit for tat, right? Because eventually, you know, what's going to wind up getting hurt is the end consumer, right? You're going to be paying more for electricity. You're going to be paying more for your oil and gas. It's just, things are going to start to get a little too expensive, and I just feel like it's all for naught. We can come up with something, right? The USMCA deal, we need to just work on everything, come with cooler heads, and I think eventually it will prevail. I think this is just all smoke right now. Let's just, you know, get sort of this political spectacle behind us here. It's not going to be no Governor Carney. This is not, whether or not, like Neil said, whether or not this is Lake Ontario, Lake Mars, whatever you want to call it, I don't really think it's going to matter.
I like that. Lake Mars.
Yeah, Lake Mars might be may stretch a little too far there. But at the end of the day, let's just get past this all. We've seen stocks like Ford getting hit. I mean, we could show the charts. Yeah, I mean, we'll show it right now if you want. You know, there has been some, and even here, knowing people that are working in the Stellantis plant there in Brampton and whatnot, you know, it is having some effect on individual families and whatnot, and that's really the person eventually that gets hurt. Like, this is what I mean. Ever since this ramp up, it's not like Ford is actually moving around here. Stellantis, Magna, all these stocks. So I don't think it's having a huge effect on Wall Street. I just think it eventually siphons down, you know, to the common person, and we don't want to see that happen. So let's think about getting some sort of a solution here. And I don't know if we're any closer than we were yesterday, but hopefully we could do something. But anyways, Adara, that's sort of the talk there. I think we're getting ready for Joe.
Yeah, we have some upgrades and downgrades here with Joe over at the green screen.
All right, guys, welcome back. Let's take a look at some of the analyst actions here this morning. We're going to kick things off as we typically do with some downgrades. Down 1 1/4. We have Five Below going from a buy to a hold at Loop Capital, but with a $250 firm price target. But the firm also cites valuation for the downgrade as opposed to more a bearish view of the company's fundamentals. The firm also awaits a more attractive entry point to, again, recommend the shares. So it's a valuation thing, not necessarily a fundamental downgrade, guys. Moving forward, let's take a look at Klarna, a name that we were talking about not too long ago, down 1/3%, but going from an outperform to a peer perform here at Wolf Research. No specific target, but the firm views the company as a show me story following the Q2 report. Investors may remain on the sidelines near term as the materially reduced gross merchandise outlook left more questions surrounding the company. Moving forward, let's take a look at some more positive things here, ladies and gentlemen. Moderna at the top, one of our top of the list here on the upgrades, up 1 3/4, going from an outperform to a peer perform, but no specific target here, ladies and gentlemen. Wolf Research giving them the nod, but now the firm cites we see a much clearer regulatory path forward for Moderna and Merck, the reason for the upgrade. Last but not least, we have AMD. Don't forget, I'm sure we'll mention it multiple times, NVDA after the bell. You might see some form of sympathy play here within AMD, up 2% here this morning, a little bit more than that. Outperformed to a strong buy at Raymond James. No specific target here, ladies and gentlemen, but the firm forecasts AMD's CPU revenue to be growing at a 44% annual rate to $201 billion into 2030. Raymond James also believes that AMD offers the strongest combination of direct earnings leverage, reasoning for the upgrade here today. The data center, everything with the AI build out, Raymond James giving AMD the nod. Let's send it back to Adara.
Some interesting upgrades and downgrades here. I can already promise you guys we'll talk some more AMD on that upgrade during the rundown. So don't go anywhere if you're looking for more trading thoughts in AMD. But I'll start with you here, Sean. Of those upgrades, sorry about that. So of these upgrades and downgrades, which of these I think has you the most excited, or which one would you just totally stay with?
I don't understand why they're downgrading Five Below. I mean, I think that this, we talked about this before. It's, you know, the consumer, when you get this inflation, you know, they're not stopping to shop. They're just trading down. And I think that Five Below, literally, I mean, especially going back to school, every time we're in the States, we talked about this, I like going into Five Below. My kids like going into Five Below. It's pretty unique. It's a little bit higher than a dollar store, and I think they do solve a lot of the back to school, issues with shopping. And I think you can, trade up to Five Below. It just broke out with earnings coming on September 2nd. I think maybe you could wait for that. But I any sort of a downgrade on this name, as long as earnings come through on the 2nd, I think we'll be fine with Five Below. So for me, this is an interesting look there. And again, no one stops shopping. Like this is not an issue. It's like you might not want to spend the $7 for a latte at Starbucks, but you'll definitely go to Five Below. So I like the stock. I like the stores. I think Five Below continues to work.
Yeah, what about you, Neil? Any upgrades or downgrades that really stood out here?
It's still Moderna. I mean, ultimately, it's just, it feels like it's the first inning of something that could be bigger. It's the short float that's going to be there. Obviously, you're not going to see Moderna move the way that it did on day one, when obviously there was a lot of short covering in shorts that got pummeled a little bit. But I'm still of the mind that the new shorts that came in are feeling pretty good about themselves, right? Like that second day, you failed at about 165, 170. It's been a lower high. It's been successive lower highs after that. But you know what? If you've timed it well and been patient enough, there have been some breakout longs. It's a breakout long on Friday. Yesterday, it did a great bottom tail candle off the low and then was a long. It was my second best stock. And really, like I said, it's been putting in lower highs. So you'd think this is a short. But my brain is, where is the next squeeze? Every time there's a bottom tail, I want to try to get involved to the long side. Unfortunately, there hasn't really been a key breakout just yet, but 146 stands out today, that 150. Again, you get complacent thinking, oh, it stopped moving. But if you stop moving after holding that higher low and you're just going sideways, that can be dangerous for the shorts. And not to take anything away from Merck. I think Merck has been fantastic on the year. Every single time people would ask us about Pfizer, my answer was always, why don't you look at Merck? There's a better pipeline, better performance. Everything about it's been better. It turned first. It continued. It doesn't just sit at the same price forever. And that stock's breaking out. But it's not as exciting as Moderna, because I think there's new shorts that are just waiting to get squeezed.
So with that in mind, I have a question. I mean, I've been trading this a little bit, mostly last week, and that 130 is like a rock. So I'm going to ask both you and Sean. I'll start with you, Neil. What breaks first, 130 or 160 on Moderna? Oh,
that's a good one. I can't go with what I want to happen. Okay. What I want to happen is the 160 to break. But we're sitting at 141, and we've been putting, like I said, we've been putting in lower highs over and over again. And 130, every time it's gotten down there, 130 has broken. Like, it's not bouncing in front of 130. It's bouncing. It bounced 128 something before, and then yesterday, I think we saw like maybe just barely at that price. So I would suspect that you could get a test underneath and a bottom tail. That's why I'm looking for the bottom tail reversal, because I do think you're trending toward the low end breaking first, but I don't think that's the end of the story. The buyers seem to want to come back in and not break down under that level. Like, we're not falling apart when we get through 130. That's the key thing.
Yeah, what about you, Sean? 130, 160?
I could take the other way. I just think I think 130. If you look at the chart here, as Neil said, we have, it's been pretty close. You could break it today, but this is a relatively new story. I still feel like I don't know what kind of stats are going to come out tomorrow. What's going to come out in the middle of the day here for Moderna. So I actually like the bull case. I think it's, we could support it around here. This is just what it looks like since the move higher, just to show everybody that we did have some excitement, obviously, in day one and day two pullback. But right into here, 130, I like that sort of a bid to come in and support the stock. So I'm going to go with, hey, I mean, what if tomorrow, tonight, anytime, we get sort of more updates exactly about this Keytruda, this partnership, or if there is one with Merck, and where we go on Moderna. So I think there is a reason, Adara, for this to go a little higher. So yeah, let's continue to think positively about Moderna. And I do think it's more likely. I mean, you're at 140, so you're talking about $20 higher, $10 lower. Statistically, I think you're probably in a 130 area. But I would say this is, for me, as a day trade, a great little long. If we can get back into 130, test it against that 128, see if we get a little bit of a pop. But I don't think the story's done. So I like Moderna, and I actually think you could buy some options for a higher look here, maybe end of September, something like that. I love the story, and I think it continues to work. So Moderna for me is a buy at these levels.
Yeah, before we get into this rundown in just a few minutes, I want to talk a little Amazon, because this Amazon also certainly to the upside. We heard yesterday, within the last hour, I think, of trading, Business Insider comes out with this report about some robotics and AI work for their delivery facilities.
Yeah, we do know delivery is the final stage here, so the packing. Let's take a look at what Amazon is really doing. So it's developing a new generation of highly automated warehouses that will use AI and robotics to process packages at the final stop before delivery. Now, this initiative is internally been called a Project Tironimo. I'm sorry about that. Tironimo, and is intended to build a quote-unquote fully automated delivery stations. Now, according to an internal planning document that was revealed as of that it came out from Amazon as of last month, the companies plan to invest around $103 million in this initial plot in 2028, which will be followed by rather 5 sites by the year in 2029 and 10 more in the year 2030. So each of the 2029 sites are potentially projected to cost somewhere around $85 million, which will bring the total investment to more than $530 million by the year 2029, Adara. So Amazon has also said that this project can process packages at roughly 2.5 times the rate of its existing delivery status design, which is a good look here. But also another thing that you do want to consider is human jobs.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about the whole robotics element, Sia? Would you get a robot for your home?
You know, Adara, I have a very anti-robot stance. I have been clear about that. I have really significantly reduced my use of AI throughout my life as well. I barely use AI in my daily life. So for me, it's a no.
That's fair, and I think I'd probably be in the same boat here. I mean, I do everything myself. I walk everywhere. I want to stay independent. Let's quickly, though, before we get into this rundown, talk a little S&P Case-Shiller home price, because why not? 2.1% here was the print above the previous print of 1.6% and above that forecast of 1.7, 1.8%. So higher than expected. Home price year-over-year print again, guys, at 10 a.m. CB consumer confidence and new home sales are going to come through. So we'll get those to you right here at this desk. And also, at this desk, as always, we're going to go through our rundown. What is the basis of our rundown? It's our free Trader TV Live watch list. This watch list has earnings and events in focus. It has the biggest movers to the upside and to the downside. It has anything you could need to know to tackle this market. Because sometimes you don't even know what the big move is going to be. Just have to wait and find out. We'll talk here today starting up with crypto, because we talked about earlier today during our whole roundtable discussion about this quick little break of that 80,000. We have yet to see if this is a false break, but there are still a lot of catalysts surrounding Bitcoin that really led to and contributed to this rally that we had over the last week or so, Sia.
Adara, as of last night, crypto has hit a 3-month high, and it did break the $80,000 mark around the 9 p.m. mark. And we did talk about this earlier when we were all discussing, I would say, the roundtable. So last week, U.S. President Donald Trump had also called on the Congress to pass a bill to rather clarify the crypto sector. And ever since, BTC has been rallying. Well, that has not been the only reason that has been happening. You have other names like you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, Solana, XRP. That was the winner that I kept repeating as of last week, that rallied among these crypto names. And cryptocurrencies overall have been getting a boost since last week, when U.S. Treasury also unveiled plans to buy back more long-dated bonds that can help gap up these gains between long end yields. But that also led to dollar being a little weaker. Not too weaker, but a little weaker. That is something you do want to consider. Cryptocurrency was lifted up. Dollar cent a little bit weak. But last week, we also had Tom Lee saying that, quote unquote, we are encouraged to see the ETH-BTC ratio that at 0.02994 and rising. He also commented the fact that the tailwind for crypto could be the easing financial conditions as well. Currently, you have BTC. We're sitting here right before the open, half an hour, 28 minutes to be precise, to go around $78,900 region.
Which tickers are you guys watching for this crypto trade if you're looking to take it today?
Yeah, look, the last couple of sessions, it's been like trading places with IBIT and ETH, and that's the reality. Yesterday, you had a good rally early there in IBIT, which was off of this 18.5 zone, but it petered out. You got your 2 points, and then you had to move on because it turned. Whereas Bitcoin, which it feels like has a little bit more room to run, had a little more staying power. Issues, you can tell when you look at IBIT on the like in the 15-minute here, you get the real sense that this 24-hour market, a lot of the movement can be happening overnight, and we're at 79 right now. So this looks very like any other day if you just ignore where Bitcoin is at. And forget about the fact that we failed 80,000 twice. or at least pull back off 80,000 for a second time now. This 44 level is staring at you. You have Friday resistance into Monday support, and so it looks like it's a drop and go. In the back of my mind, I have to remind myself that, okay, we're underneath the 80,000 level, so if you get the bounce off 44, temper the expectations when we get to that 80,000 mark, and just remember you've got that top looming. So it's 44 on IBIT, and at this point, I'm just going to be tracking both and willing to flip to the one that looks stronger. You're already at effectively support on ETH. So this, if we get any kind of a pullback, well, ETH is already testing it. So I think Bitcoin's a stronger one today, and I'll be looking at that over ETH.
All right, just what's watching out. I put in the chat there about what everyone's looking at over there. Yeah, look, I don't. Trying to find like plays that might be outside. Like right now, IBIT just not really moving around. It's had a huge move. If anything, I'm thinking about shorting some of that pop, and that would be 45.30, somewhere around there from yesterday's high. It seems like we are having a problem with 81,000. So for me, I think crypto's a short at some point. 45.3, something in and around there for IBIT. Just to see if we can hold out some of those high moves. There's a story that I don't know if we want to address this now, but anyways, I think I just prefer the short until we break. So I would go short 45.3. I actually might add that to the sticky note. I heard this on the way in on Bloomberg today. Obviously, Apple announcing their new Mac Minis. This is nothing that is a surprise. So I'm actually a little bit shocked that this move is what's going on right now. I don't know if there's a difference in pricing. Maybe that came out, but I was a little surprised at this move higher there on Apple, with the market being up 0.75% right now. I think Apple's also a short. That move is a little bit out of nowhere. Apple was not, acting properly with the market. It's had a nice little stabilization here at 300, but maybe we retest 300 at some point. Now pulling down, it's already 10% from its highs. Apple right now with the introduction of the new Mac Mini and M Pros that we can see right there, with M6 and M5 Pro chips now. Interesting, obviously an AI play back in the Mac Minis. And, I know a lot of people are using these things for the Claude coding and, the agentic AI and whatnot. So, Apple seems to be a winner in this space. And now with the new release, I like it, but still acting underneath the market right there. Marathon's been an interesting play as well. There we saw Riot Blockchain. HUD-8 has been a good one to look at as far as crypto plays have been concerned. And there's Marathon with a nice move higher. But this kind of goes with the same kind of talk that I've been having. Like, why aren't we breaking above this 12? You're trying to bounce off the 200 in between the 50. I still like a short against 12 bucks here for Marathon. And I like a short against basically 80,000 or whatever this level is right there on IBIT, 45.30. So let's see if we break ahead of yesterday's levels. I like the short in IBIT right there. Not enough that I'm going to be focusing too strongly on it, but yeah, let's maybe fade any pops until we can firmly hold above 80,000 in the crypto space. All right, Nvidia losing streak. I think it's over today. What about you guys?
And I want to quickly talk about this Apple a little bit more. I know Sean mentioned it, and we'll talk about Nvidia in a second. But with AAPL, you've got that M6 Mac Mini starting at $899. That CPU performance is apparently up to 40% faster versus the M4 and up to 4 times faster AI performance. Then the M5 Pro Mac Mini starting at $1,700, up to 64 CPU and up to 64 gig unified memory. So a little bit stronger, a little bit more expensive here. Double the price almost here. And this Mac Mini is going to be the more powerful M5 Pro. Let's take a look here at
We have to be in Nvidia. I'm not going to sell my position, you know, and then do you want to be short heading into the print when it's down 10%? I think this is primed to have a good reaction. So for me, I'm going to go long today. I mean, you're going to ask a question about that. I'm going to say this 215, right there, or sorry, 211.50. I kind of just found that level. It's not like it was anything overly special. It's just kind of breaking whatever the pre-market high is, right? And so for right now, it looks like it's 211.35s. I'm just going to go on the even cent. So 211.50, as long as these imbalances come out somewhat controlled. I like the long break of 211.50. I might take it immediately. And what I've written down here, unfortunately, I didn't get the sticky note done before 8 o'clock there. I'm going to try to get that done tomorrow because it's a little difficult to do it with our sort of our new format there. But I have 211.50 long and then using VWAP. So I don't think the market trades it underneath VWAP there today. So let's give it a little bit of a breath here. If we break the pre-market high before 9:30, like if there's a big imbalance, then maybe we can hold off on that. But as long as 211.35 comes through and we print through 211.50, I'm going to use that as a base to jump off from. So yeah, I do like the Nvidia long today, and it's, you know, my #1 trade idea. So I want to be there for NVDA today.
Base to jump off from, it makes it sound like it makes it sound like negative, but it's a positive today.
Yeah.
There's multiple things to like about this here. Forget about the earnings for a second. It's a bounce off the 50-period SMA on the daily for Nvidia. Have a look down at the volume. It's not the biggest volume. It's August volume. It's not the biggest volume of the quarter, but in this streak that it's had, yesterday's that low and that bounce off the low, that is the volume. That's the biggest volume spike during the losing streak. So it did its biggest volume spike in the biggest down day, and then holding low when we're gapping higher. So all this resistance that we saw, like in the bottom of this bear flag, the 210 to 211, I think that's a jump off zone anytime we see that. So obviously, you know, the pre-market low is going to be about 210, but like these highs in here, I think that's where you look for the base. So I do think there's a chance that you could get like a little bit of a dip and rip, but as long as we're above those prices, I'm looking long to fill the gap on Nvidia. It's like the cherry on the cake that it happens to be the 50-period moving average that it's bouncing off of, which we do like. But they're not the one that got the upgrade. It was actually AMD. Back to this.
A transition there, Neil. I like that one. Yeah, AMD with a very bullish note coming through here from Raymond James. $641 price target. It's crazy to think this stock is at $470 right now. So not even that big of a leap here, I guess, with a strong buy rating.
So in a note to investors, Raymond James had said that AMD, quote unquote, the strongest combination of direct earnings leveraged data center positioning, also market share gains with server CPU revenue that is projected to grow 44% CAGR through the year 2030. Now, it is upgraded AMD stock strong buy from Outperform, and like you said, Adira raised the price target to $641 from just $565. So from yesterday's close of about $456, this price target is implying a potential upside of about 40%.
Yeah, and I've been hearing some headlines as well, quickly just about the U.S. and Iran. Tasnim reporting that Pakistan, which as we know is the mediator between the U.S. and Iran, is apparently conveying Iran's condition and positions to the U.S. So I guess they're trying to get negotiations back started up here. Apparently one of Iran's conditions is a return to the MOU, including conditions regarding the Strait of Hormuz. Let's go to AMD though, guys. How do you feel about this one?
It's hard to look. I kind of prefer Nvidia, obviously, but if you look at AMD, it does have some similarities in terms of bouncing off of like a multi-day low, but it's not the 50-period moving average. It didn't have as big of a wipeout bottom on volume. The rest of the chart looks the same. But if we're looking at the upgrade and talking about the CPUs, well, that also benefits another name, which is interesting today, and that's Intel. Because all those same things that get said, I think, can apply to an Intel, which has probably a much cleaner look because of that $90 level that we saw from Friday. Like, this sucker closed like effectively just holding 90 for 2 days. We then have the massive drop off. We're gapped, and look at the support again, right at 90. Like, this gets pretty simple for an over/under level. If we can close the open range above, Intel's long with room to 93. Unfortunately, if it doesn't, then you stay away or hop into the short side of the trade. So this gives you another chip name to look at, just a little bit more interesting from a technical standpoint. And then just to throw the other side of AMD here, it does feel like AMD hasn't had as big of a pullback as many others. So as it gets back upside, I'd be looking for somewhere, and probably the 50-period and the $500 level, to think that this turns into a short-term fade. Yeah, so I find Intel a little bit more interesting on the chart. I think a lot of the positivity that they can have from that upgrade, or that was said by the analysts, does apply in a certain extent to Intel. It's a little hard to avoid that, and that would be the second chip name that I'd look at.
Yeah, I only have Nvidia and Intel written down on the sticky note for today. It's going to be out in a couple seconds, just finishing up the touches on that one. But yeah, nice upgrade from AMD today. I mean, it's up 3%. I think it makes a lot of sense that they can continue to work as well in this environment, right? I mean, it's just, I looked at this yesterday and I was saying that this is the one name that has actually held out pretty good. I mean, you're not near the 200-period moving average on the daily quite yet. So there's definitely something working out now for AMD. I mean, both AMD and Nvidia are well above still there. Not well above. Nvidia's at 195, its 200-period moving average. Intel's down at 71, AMD's down here at 350. So a lot of these GPU names have continued to be quite strong and, you know, holding out hope that we don't cross this 200-period moving average. So names like that we've seen, G Vernovas and the IREN and, you know, the Marvells and all that, you know, have been hit a lot more than some of these GPU providers here. So I think the story still remains pretty strong. I like the upgrade, and I think this, you know, somewhere around here is probably a decent buy. We do wait for the NVIDIA number for AMD to come through. But hey, man, I like the upgrade. I think it works. Up 3% today. This name is another one where, hey, if you break that pre-market high, I don't know if that matters too much. I'd rather break where we were yesterday. So if we sort of zoom over and see where yesterday's levels were, I'd want to see this 474 break. And I think we can go long into yesterday's open. And then after that, 478. So I think you get a clean $5 or so on this 474 break. So let's get up there first. You're now at 470, 471. Let's see what kind of a move happens right off the jump there for AMD. Does an upgrade really deserve 3%? I don't know. Again, like the story, it's been beat up. I think AMD goes. So I'm watching for a 474 break long.
Talk here about some DKS, something that definitely is not a breakout long. In fact, if it breaks anywhere, it's just going to break lower, unfortunately. Dick's Sporting Goods, this was not a slam dunk of a quarter for them, to put it really mildly. Comp sales, not bad, but that guidance for that Foot Locker going forward, a little bit concerning.
It is definitely concerning, Adira. Now, like I was just speaking to you off camera, 2024 did see pretty good sales. We saw good numbers in 2024, but 2025 GAAP net income had declined around 27%. You had EPS at $9.97. So it was largely, like you said, driven by the integration costs, also share dilution that followed the acquisition of Foot Locker. But here in this report, the major problem remains the guidance here, what they have issued. So it's been slashed, I would rather say, reduced its full year net sales outlook to a range of $21.9 billion to $22.2 billion. And this number is something that you do want to look out for, Adira, as well, is that it's down from the range of $22.1 to $22.4 billion and adjusted profit expectations of $11 to $12 per share. But let's just look at the numbers just really briefly and real quick. Adjusted EPS is $3.53 per share, missed. You have revenue at $5.59 billion, again, missed below the expectations of 5.64. Net income, $315.5 million, again, down from the prior year. Comparable store sales, however, have increased 2.1% overall.
Are you a Foot Locker customer, Sia?
I am a Foot Locker customer, Adira, yes, and I would rather say that there are now better options out there. You have Journeys, you have brands like Journeys, at least here in Canada, you have Journeys, and there's other good brands that are also providing these shoes, I would say, for a rather cheaper rate than Foot Locker even is. You have Winners as well, that you will actually see some of these shoes for good sales and Winners and even Costco.
So you're saying there's a bit more competition for Foot Locker?
Lots more competition is what I would say, yeah.
Are you guys looking to compete with the buyers and sellers to trade some DKS today?
Like I was trying to come up with a good pun for it. It's so bad though. It's just like I don't even want to kick them while they're down. Like you can make flash entries. You can do whatever you want to do, but when you pull out a monthly chart here, it's nasty because we're trading down at 140. You effectively have taken the bull flag that it was in on the monthly chart and squashed the entire breakout range to going back to like the 2023 tops, 2021 and 2023 highs that it broke out from a couple of years ago. Yeah, we're right back at those levels at a 140. So is it at a zone where you could think about some kind of a bounce? Sure, the 140 on a monthly chart shows you that. But what good is a level on a monthly chart on day one? Now I'm used to, like when we see gaps down like this, I'm used to some kind of a bottom that gets made. Maybe it's retested VWAP. I don't think we've seen this quite. I can't remember the last time we saw this kind of a move in the pre-market where it gapped down this far and it was just continuation selling. So I think that's not the knife you want to, the sword you want to die on. However, it is worth mentioning that Nike, which with that Foot Locker aspect here you would expect to be weak, and it is weak, it's down 3%. But it has made a low that's held at 39.4. So at least this name, if you continue to see DIX fall, it's got a low to work off of. If there's a bounce in DIX, then you hold this low on Nike and you can get a bit of a relief rally. Feels like maybe a safer way to play if you're compelled to try to look for a bottom here in DIX. It's a very unique pre-market profile. I can't remember the last time we saw a major earnings name that was that linear to the downside in the pre-market.
I think they might wind up regretting buying Foot Locker, but you know, we'll wait to see how that all goes down. I just don't think the kids are into that. I mean, we had SneakerCon on here back in COVID when it was super popular. People, trading shoes, looking for those unique outliers and whatnot. Now I just don't think the market is there for it. But I mean, I still like it. I think there's still fun to sort of collect shoes and see what's going on there. But remember, like the whole Yeezy craze and everything like that. What I wanted to do was just remember what happened to Walmart, right? Walmart gapped down pretty aggressively off their earnings, and then after basically 2 or 3 days, we traced back there to the upside. We do know that retail has a problem right now, and we've seen it hit Walmart. We've seen it hit Home Depot a little bit there, and we still do have some more. We got Five Below with a downgrade today. So I really love the store. I love how it's sort of, every time I'm in there, how clean it is, how well structured it is, all the equipment they have, how it's very much tailored to whatever region they're in. I'm looking forward to actually going back to Buffalo at some point for hockey or something to get into that DIX again. I love just the store in general, and some of our sport checks around here are starting to turn similar to it. But anyways, Walmart had its get back up, so I think that DKS will eventually as well. This is just such a huge break, as Neil had mentioned. I was looking at this earlier today, it was 150, and we have just kept on going to the downside, down 20%. I mean, they're still a huge retailer. I don't know if they own, most of the spots, I guess, are in malls, so I guess they're not actually owning the physical real estate, which is a problem. But that break right there of 167.67, it was funny yesterday because we were at baseball practice, and I was like, to the kids, it's like, okay, I'm only throwing 6 more. So I know you have your problem with your tennis elbow there or whatever, but I threw over 200 pitches at these kids yesterday. I'm like, okay, there's only 6 or 7 more left, and that, whenever I said something
frenzy.
like that, yeah, they got crazy there, but they're 11, 12 years old, so all good there. But yeah, a break lower on this name. I think Neil and everybody's right. You got to let this name settle down. This for sure is a classic 3-day rule. I think you buy it, but you got to let it base out because we don't know where that bottom is now that we've broken back below. So I want to buy some of this name. I think I actually will. This is down 20%. Probably it's an overshoot, but hey, their numbers weren't great. DKS continues to be a negative story here today. I actually really, I like the short into the open, but I think 3 days, got to let it settle down a bit.
Last but not least, let's talk about Tesla, TSLA, and specifically their Cybertruck. So as you guys can see here, it is on the screen. I think this is the Cyber Beast model, which actually isn't impacted by the story I'm about to get into. But Sia, we know that according to what one individual by the name of Sawyer Merritt pointed out on X, you've got the US on their website here, the Tesla US, raising the price targets for price levels rather, for two of the company's Cybertruck trims. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about the Cybertruck in just a minute. But yeah, I mean, what we can say here, two of the Cybertruck trims, again, Cyber Beast not impacted. One of these trims, the dual motor all-wheel drive, that's going to be up by 7.1%, that price increase here to $74,990. Premium AWD going up here to 6.3% to $84,900. Yeah, I mean, I know you're into cars, Sia. How do you feel about the Cybertruck? Do you think this price increase is actually a wheel mover here?
So there are a lot of things that you do want to consider. Now, I am into cars. I'm not into Cybertrucks, and I've made this clear that vehicle also, particularly the Cybertruck, has faced multiple recall and quality control issues. So as we've been seeing with a lot of Tesla cars, we saw on news yesterday as well that eight companies happened in China, but Tesla was the strongest and the largest by almost 3 million recalls for vehicles as of yesterday. So Tesla has repeatedly also revised prices. It happened back in 2025 as well, when it's raised the price of the top-end Cybertruck by almost $15,000 to $114,990 in August of last year. So this is exactly, it's like a trend now. It's exactly next year. It's August 2026. Tesla's hiked up the prices again. And yeah, it's increased the price of the dual motor Cybertruck to $74,990 from $69,990. And the all-wheel drive version now costs $84,990. This is all listed on their website.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, I know you are a very proud Tesla owner. Would you hop into a Cybertruck?
No, I don't really like the Cybertruck either. I'm kind of with Sia on that one. I don't. For me, I think they misstepped. I mean, I think they should have done a SUV, like just a traditional kind of SUV, and I think it would have been a little more supported. I don't know if the Cybertruck is great for. I mean, those of you that are in construction, I mean, would you rather have an F-150 or a Cybertruck? I mean, I just don't think the Cybertruck really does it. And we've seen, the funny thing is though, Neil, on their last, they only sold like 9,000 units.
It's not a big deal.
Like it's not a big deal for Tesla. And you can see right now, Tesla's basically having absolutely no reaction to this. You know, the increase in pricing is interesting to me. I thought they would have gone the other way on those trims, but as parts and everything gets more expensive, and we do obviously know about the tariff situation as well. You know, Tesla being produced, I think the Cybertrucks are still produced there in the United States, and if anything's produced over there in China, then obviously they're going to be suffering some tariffs as well. But it's not a huge move for Tesla there today. I actually, you know, as Nvidia's been sort of drifting down to the downside, Tesla's moves already happened. I'm just nervous about this 360 area because that is where your 50-period moving average is, and you know, we should have you know, maybe Brian on the show later today, and we talk about, you know, you're in the penalty box till you're out of it. You got to get above this 360 and hold, and until that happens, I don't really think the long for Tesla is appropriate at these levels. You've had such a nice move back to the upside. That's more than 15% top to bottom right there in 2.5 weeks. So I think Tesla's already done its work there. So let's just wait to see where we go. I did just get a little bit of a bid there on Nvidia. It just came back into 211. I do want to play the long break there on Nvidia. Thought it was about to happen, but instead we just got the bid down low. So I only have a quarter of a unit, but we are now into Nvidia, and I know we got to go back over. Is the rundown over? Maybe it was. Okay, it's done. Okay,
that's it.
So I just wanted to look here. So the imbalances are now out. I don't see anything major on here. I don't even see Nvidia, but you know, something to look out for, and Tesla on there as well with only a minute and a half to go. I don't know. I want to play long on Tesla, but I think for for a positioning, I think you got to wait for it to hold 360 for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I mean, given that it failed that 50-period moving average, when I'm looking back at it, like 340 looks interesting. Like you can squint far enough. If you squint hard enough, you can convince yourself of the 346 level. But I don't know where I like the long that's going to be anywhere close today. And you're too far away from the theoretical resistance. This feels like a stock that's diddling in the middle to me. And so I'm not going to be a huge fan of it. Nike is a sell of 500,000. Obviously, that's down in sympathy. It's still trying to hold that same low at $39.50. Oh, one thing that didn't get a chance to go over was the relative weakness. Market's up. I'm showing you SLV down 1.8. I should always lead with gold because I guess people care about that more. But GLD down 0.8, SLV down 1.8. So for the first time in a while, I'm actually thinking and looking short. We didn't get to the 200 on SLV, the 200 SMA, but we got close enough. And this is now 2 days worth of a pullback. Double top, pullback day. I want to be short and pops in SLV in addition to looking at names like, I looked up in my Nvidia chart, the fly is just hanging out.
Oh man, don't.
Right on the screen, but I can't hit the screen because that's my monitor, which has my charts on it. But he's just chilling, he's not even moving. It's ridiculous.
Hopefully they're about to die.
Yeah, that's when they stop moving, you know they're almost
so
dead.
negative.
No, come on, you know that's exactly what the case is. So it's Tuesday, we got the opening bell a day before Nvidia earnings, and we're gonna ring it right about now.
All right, here we go. Okay, we just got long Nvidia. Oh, thank you, Rob. What a savior Rob has been there. Basically the first coffee of the day. Thank you, Rob, for that. Oh, wow, you didn't need to. Okay, thank you, Rob. Okay, here we go, man. It's Nvidia now trying to go back up to the upside. We do have a long now at 210.70. I am looking to push it through that 211.50 area. So I think we can average into that if that winds up going to the upside there on Nvidia. So we're long in this one. I only want to give this one to a break of the pre-market. If we're wrong, we are wrong. So we can slip out of this one on a 210 low break if that's what winds up happening. I thought the losing streak may end here for Nvidia, but it may be the other way around, man. Maybe this is just extending its streak right now. 209.99, man. If we break below that, then we are going to stop out of this Nvidia trade, which I'm happy with. We're not super into this yet, but right now that's my look on NVDA.
Yeah, and the first thing that just happened off of the open for DKS, I should say. Oh, don't go to Blue Ocean, please. There we go. Come on.
Oh, you went to Blue BLs?
I know, and now I have to wait for this stupid thing.
All right, we can come over to my screen.
There it is. A shot to the upside on DKS. So we made the low at about 141, which puts Nike firmly in focus. Now that I flip to Nike, doesn't want to go. See the bottoming tail on Nike? So I'm going to look at that 39.27 as a bit of a bottom. And instead of playing the relief rally in DKS, I'm going to try the relief rally over here in Nike. Just feel like it's just safer. It's not that it can't lose, but I just feel like it already showed a willingness to hold that low. So we'll look for the VWAP retracement on Nike instead of Dick's Sporting Goods, DKS. And again, I'm sorry about not having any good puns for Dick's, but.
No, I think you keep saying that, but I think you'll come up with something, I'm sure, at some point, because it is definitely a well-traded name this morning. Okay, here we go. I'm on Nvidia. So, let's see if we can get an out here. I'm actually offering 83s. I don't really know why we put that to 83, but right now, Nvidia, we do have, okay, there it goes. Nice. All right, man, we're long now at 210.50. I like this level. Let me get another piece out here at O's. So there it is at 11s, and then we'll see about maybe a high take through some of this, and then we'll get back to the upside and take down that 211.50. Look, we like the 200 period moving average. We were able to buy some right there at 210.25s. I don't know if this name is going to go or not. I'm going to take out another piece here in the 80s, but there goes another one. So far, so good, man. As we go, I got to make sure my stream deck is open here. As we go 1 for 1 early, but this name could slip up a little bit. Look at Bitcoin right now, 78.7. Yeah. Okay, maybe IBIT is coming down. I wrote down on the note today that we like the IBIT short up here. I don't know if it's going to get to 45. Let's be patient and wait to see if that is indeed the case with IBIT. Nvidia. Oh, did you mention Intel there?
We did, but it's under 90. So.
Okay, yeah. Here, I'll just put my note up on the board just real quickly. You guys can go find it. It's in the chat as well. Nvidia long 211. We're already long right now against the 200 period. If that breaks back down below, we're out. SpaceX 135. Let's have a look at that. Intel 88 long, IBIT short. So Intel yesterday we had to wait a couple minutes, but right now it's not near that 88. It did just bounce off the 200 period moving average. All right, you're in two completely different names now, Nike and SLV. So
SLV just made a little bit of a pop into the volume weighted average price. It's just a look. Gold and silver have been a little bit weaker the last couple of days, and certainly today. So shorting it back into about 61.4. It's the Qs that are, like the market, I should say, just busting through VWAP and starting to look very, very strong. I actually liked Intel for a break back above the 90 level. And I specifically said the VWAP reclaim on Intel because the gap down was too far. The prior highs are 88. So I think that could be one place to go. But I want to see it get back above VWAP. It was actually I think it was the top thing on the list, but it hasn't come into play. But this is one I'll be watching closely because the other names were actually lower on the priority as opposed to INTC, which is still kind of languishing relative to the market. Yeah, there it goes. It just kind of lost a bit again there in Intel.
Yeah, we just actually, we're in the club already. There's a dollar club right there on Nvidia. So, so far so good here as we go 1 for 1. Yesterday we went 2 for 3 with basically our loser being literally a cup of coffee. But here goes Nvidia right now. I'm going to take a little bit more on a 211 break. I mean, we're now $1.20 in the money on this name, and there it goes. So we do add to that position a little bit. Unfortunately, the price we just got there was 60s, so not a great add there for your boy on Nvidia, but we'll offer some out at 80, and we'll offer some out again a little bit higher than that as we've now hit our daily goal, position pending here on NVDA. So it's a really good one. It was the #1 trade idea that I had on the list today, was a 211.50 break. So now even that position is now 40 cents in the money, let alone these dip buys that we do have. So now we're dollars in the money here as we continue to fly high on Nvidia. And I don't know if it's going to slow down. We just got a top tick there at 211.85 or so. Hopefully this can, I guess it was 80s. Hopefully this can keep going higher on NVDA, but so far so good here early in the morning on NVDA. I hope you guys are enjoying yourself. It's been a good morning so far. The NASDAQ did make its lows. Now it's trying to get a little higher. Let's see what happens now. I'm going to work to figure out where the outs are. I've always said VWAP would possibly be a decent out for us on Nvidia. So don't want to get stopped out on this one, but you always got to be, whoa, okay, but you always got to be a little cautious of that as a possibility. Let's go Nvidia, man. Big trade alert over here for now. And Intel back to 90.
Intel just went back to 90. I just got the 04s long. Moderna's going absolutely ham, just to acknowledge for everybody. We thought it was a 130 long, so you can pretty much forget about that. But we stopped out of Nike at the low. It was always a play here to the low, but we're still falling on Nike. Intel, as we said, that is going to be the 90 reclaim. So it's breaking back above that VWAP and the $90 level. Going to give this one a little bit more room because we like this one a little bit more. And SLV, silver and gold, it's coming back in. I want to make sure we're scalping into the low of the day here. As we said, the market's blasting higher, but for whatever reason,
it's drilling higher.
Actually, I should have used that pun with the drilling that's going on. The market's drilling higher, but there's still drilling for the bottom on silver and gold, which have been relatively weak, as you guys can see here. But what's crazy is two names that we usually pay way more attention to, SpaceX
it's going nuts,
and Moderna. Obviously, those have been two big-time runners. SpaceX has its own VWAP reclaim happening, but Moderna is the bigger story. MRNA is blasting higher. It hit 150 and pulled back. I thought this was a 130 dip buy, somewhere closer to the 30s. Might have to start looking at VWAP or just a clean 150 break. Where if it holds higher, this is a stock that does well on breakouts. And we're trading some breakouts earlier in the afternoon or later in the morning yesterday, and then later in the afternoon, or I guess mid-afternoon, it did a bit of a breakout as well. So watch for that 150 break. It's in pullback mode first, so I think getting a place to find that bid makes more sense. It's a little bit early for VWAP on the way back to the downside, but Moderna, the squeeze isn't over yet, everybody.
Yeah, we had mentioned that earlier. Derek gave us a great question. What do we like better, the 130 or what? Maybe what happens first it was, and I think that 130 seemed obvious as a bouncing spot, and it looks like today again, for Moderna, it doesn't even wait for that nice upside move. Now you're just about halfway between 130 and 160. So wondering what you guys maybe think there in the chat about that. Okay, I'm gonna get another piece. Well, we actually got a lot out there when it made these moves into 212. I mean, part of trading for me is sitting at key levels, right? So right now, like I'm just sitting there again. So we're there at 212 again and get another piece out. So this is already a day and a half goal. So we're pretty happy with with this move just off one time. And it was really lucky on Nvidia today because we got that fallout right into the 200 period, and I love that 200 period moving average. So really did make a little bit of sense for me to take that trade and then hold it against. Remember, if we broke 210, we were going to be out. So this was about, now we're long at 211.50, but this area down there, we were long at 210.50. So the fact is that we were going to lose 50 cents to make $1.50, $2. I mean, well worth the risk reward on Nvidia. Nvidia going higher as market going lower. I did want to look at Apple today. They get that new Mac Mini, which I guess the M6 and the M5 Pro, I think that's what they're called, was the surprise. I don't think they were looking for the M6 and they got it. So that was a nice move higher there. But now fading back, as I said, it was an expected move today for Apple to release their new Mac Minis. So that's an interesting story there to keep on watching out to see what happens with AAPL. It's only 9:40, still early days.
We are aware, just so everyone else, we're aware of the audio issue. It's just, they're working on it, and we're trying to get it fixed for you guys out there. So bear with it. And you guys, I don't know if you guys
hear. There's two things. There's our audio here, and then there's also the drilling. They're working on the parking lot.
Oh, that's right,
down there below. So I had to charge the old Tesla at the house last night, so it costed me probably $3 or $4. So I need to put on a little more shares over here as the parking spots are being taken over by. Maybe all this drilling means we need to get into some USO right here.
It's not moving.
Drill, baby, drill around here. Maybe they struck oil downstairs. I don't really know. It seems like they might have struck something there. Hopefully not the power lines. All right, 128. Yeah, and again, big discussions. And Adair asked us some questions to start the show at 8 a.m. And by the way, let us know how you like that new format there. I think that was pretty fun. We're looking forward to continuing on that one, getting Joe and Sharif and everybody involved there. That should be a real fun time. But look what's happening to oil right now. Nothing. It's not moving. So down 3%. Really shocking me that there's nothing going on here with USO. Go Nvidia. You the man over there. But yeah, gold as well. Nvidia now taking down 212 now. But GLD, nice move lower today. I think this is a buy. I heard today on Bloomberg that they're looking at 5,000 an ounce. So we can get going on that one. If that does happen, you'd be up here. I have to go ask one of the large language models what 5,000 an ounce looks like as far as the price here for GLD, or just line it up. I don't need to ask anybody that, but I think that's interesting. Buying gold continues to be a story that could work out for everybody. All right, man, here it goes, and that's exactly what we're talking about. It's your face slapper. I just saw that graphic, so let's put that on right there. It's your face slapper for me of the day. Every day we just have fun with the dollar clubs, but now this is $2.50 in the money off that low, and $1 in the money off our posted breakout. So both things work today for Nvidia. I mean, this might be a day where we could do a video. Dip buy or breakout. How about both for NVDA today? No major upgrades or anything like that. It was just a break of the streak. And I asked myself, I said, do you want to be short Nvidia into earnings? And right now, the answer to that appears to be no, market-wide. So there it goes, man. Nvidia is still cooking with gas as we go to the upside right now. Yeah, that's the trade for me. Intel, SLV, Moderna. How did that Intel trade work out? Because Nvidia ripped. I don't know if Intel did or not.
Intel actually tanked. Moderna just broke 150 as well. So Moderna just broke the 150 level. Oh, I didn't get filled on the breaks. I had to put an individual order in there. I'll go over to Moderna first.
I'm so surprised about Intel there. I thought it was going to go higher.
So Moderna just broke the 150. Where's my? I had an 05 fill that didn't actually fill in there. Let's see if we can get the quick little scalp trade off the 150 level. But Intel lost the bid completely. So we took the retake of the $90 level, giving it to the low. That wicked out, went all the way to 89, but it is on the comeback trail. So it's trying to come back, but if it can't close above VWAP, we got to stay away from that. SLV and silver and gold are still weak, so silver's almost at the low of the day, but not quite. Moderna just tagged the 151 for the scalp trade, but the thing about MRNA, like the initial breakdown yesterday, made a low at about 942. Like this time of day, it made a low reversed, and then went even further. If it were to follow that pattern, my thought would have been a VWAP retrace, but then, all right, I'm talking nonsense. It doesn't look like it wants to go pull back at all. So you got to start thinking about where the levels are. For myself, you can see very clearly, just go back to Friday, $156 was the top. Moderna has made lower highs like every single day. since that first day, which is not a lot of days. The story just came out. So that's my anticipation that you could still make that lower high, and I'm always in that scalp mode. The last range was 47 to 150. That's $3, so I should already have taken that one. I should have already taken it. You saw it go and fail the 150 level, so I should be scalping the 2. So I have 153. If it's 37 to 150, it's 150 to 153, and then take the next leg. Every $3, it looks like it's going to be a scalp trade. That's what worked yesterday for myself. Eventually, it did make a jaunt to that 143 from 137. But even then, it was going $3 at a time. So I'm going to stick with that pattern. And then the next trade, we'll be looking at VWAP back at 47. So the breakout, obviously working there. Silver, man, that's loud. Silver, this is a standard. I think it's a short, and the first place to short it that isn't the prior day low is the volume weighted average price. So stop me if you've heard it before. It pops, you short the volume weighted average price and what you think is going to be a downtrend. You play it to the low, you hold some for, I don't want to say the inevitable move down, but when I look at the key price levels, now that we're through 61.17, I'm looking down at 60, 60, about 60, 65 on SLV. Just go back to near the end of last week, and that'll be the next level to the downside. The market's still very much inside day-ish, so you just have to find the things that are explosive. It really only takes one, like Moderna, like 2 breakout trades in Moderna with my day yesterday, and the one here could just be good enough. We'll see. It's obviously we're not going to get to that 130 first, like I was saying.
Yeah, no, yeah, great look there on Moderna, of course, and that's what we're talking about. You know, like you trade Intel, doesn't work, you go over to something else. I mean, we did that yesterday, and it worked out swimmingly. So I definitely like those kind of strategies. As we say, it just takes one sometimes, and that's exactly what we're doing. Now we're at 2 times our daily goal here on Nvidia. So that's now at 213. So this is now $3 now off the lows and $1.50 off that initial position there for NVDA. Let's just keep it going, man. I have my stop at 211.50, so we're gonna see if this one can just mature up a little bit there into 313.20s. I'll put an offer there. We'll go to 313.50. We'll put an offer there, and then we'll wait to see where this goes. But yeah, man, definitely making some decent cash there today. That is for sure. What's been halting? I'm looking. This DFNS was another one that we have traded over the last couple days, weeks and months. DFNS right there, nice move higher. This name was $75 at one point, all the way down, just halting to the downside, and now reopening over there. ZSTK. I mean, you guys let us know in the chat if there is anything going on.
AIXI is a much more, if you're looking at the small cappers, AIXI was the one that was the most appealing, but unfortunately, it had an up halt and then immediately down halted after that break, and it's lost VWAP. So watch the 120 level, 100 million shares. That's legit. That ZSTK wasn't really doing a lot of volume. If this can get back above VWAP, that's what I would be watching for. It's got to get above that and then break out that whole price at 160. Well, it's down here. I think you got to be a little bit careful. But Cisco, the other story that bears mentioning, yeah, this is SMCI, 7.5%. The only thing on my board that's up more than that is Moderna. Moderna's up 8.5%. So SMCI and Cisco teamed up. Cisco expanding to secure its AI factory with Nvidia in partnership with SMCI. That is all green shoots for them. So the squeeze is on once again for SMCI.
Yeah, SMCI, really good looker right there. Look, I'm at a little bit of a loss for words right now as we continue to watch out for this Nvidia trade. We just got 213.40s there. So now we're really starting to move, man. I mean, it's $2 now in the money. And, you know, if you guys are looking for some sort of notes, we do have our morning note. We all do put something out, but there it is, NVIDIA, 211 long, man. We like it. We were going to use VWAP, but that we didn't have to worry about that one. This has just been just a huge mover now to the upside as we continue to go. Yeah, VW, I saw that one, WVVVIP. This one halted, so shout out to you guys there in the chat. We want to say a big thank you to everybody that's with us right now. And in fact, let's do like a little bit of a quick little roll call right here if we can get that locked and loaded here, because I want to say a thank you to everybody for watching us one more time and sort of helping us with this sound and putting out with that. You know, we do have some audio problems. We're working on them as soon as we can get that fixed. We will. But here we go, man. Let's just say hi to everybody, including everybody. If you're on TikTok, say hi. I'm going to shout you out right now. Yo, Chef Joe, what's going on, my good friend? Hope you are all right. What's up to Vault Builder? What's up to D. Westermeyer right there? Good friend of the show. Mike P. DeRider, somebody named that, I don't know. Ray President, Commodity King. Hey, another one. Kelvin Kling, Solar Tech is here as well. Georgia, Snowmeister, okay. Not too snowy here, but sometimes it's getting a little cold. Byron, Bravo. Yeah, what's up? There's Tisha Perkins. Hope you're doing well as well. Lyndon Meyer. This guy's picked the bottom of SpaceX. What's up to Lyndon Meyer? There goes Joey talking about that AAOI. And AO is in the chat as well. Saying AO to us is Mike. What's up to Shane B, Two Boots, Swizzler, Sniper, and 1320 Wolf. And the wolf be howling today, baby, because there goes Nvidia to the high side again. Just took down 214.15s right there as your high of the day. We'll sit there at 12 and we will take that one. It is a money trade. It is a 50-cent kind of a morning right there, because here we go, man. It's happening all over again. We did it again, everybody. We did it again. The banger trade right there for me on Nvidia. We go 1 for 1 now. $4 in the money from the lows, $2.50 in the money from our breakout spot. It's Nvidia's world, and today we're all living in it. But look at the NASDAQ as that continues to go. Look at Neil had Moderna. That's continuing to go. That's 154 right now for Moderna. We like it. We like it a lot, and we love that we have you guys joining with us. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Go give your boy a follow. We're on one today.
Absolutely, and this market is absolutely on one. I don't know what's holding up BE, but this feels like why is it not participating when it was so strong yesterday? SMCI continues to lead the way. It's program buying on SMCI, so anytime I see this, I flip into the mode of the second the program buying stops. We saw this with SoFi the other day. I'm going to look for a reversion. I'll try to show you the chart if I can, because SoFi was so incredibly distinct. It was absurd the other day at the open. Yeah, which is crazy program buy. The second the program turned off, that was the top. And you could find it across multiple names, but SoFi felt like it was the strongest one. So that's where I'm at with SMCI. The market may be blasting, but there's two places that are weak. One of them is gold and silver. The other is crypto. And Bitcoin languishing a bit and looking like it wants to lose the 44. I preferred the silver short, but I think adding this one can make a ton of sense for sure. Yeah, Moderna is almost at that 156. So there was the resistance the other day on Moderna. 150, yeah, 156, 157. It almost got to 160 that day, almost to the dime before turning around. But notice the difference on a 15-minute. It was the first red candle that was a turnaround. So there will be no front end trying to get in front of Moderna. You can't do that. Just if it's going to get to that price, wait for it to put a topping tail, wait for it to do some kind of rejection, and then aim for the short. So I'm going to wait on this to get a little bit closer to the highs and then think about a reversion. But not so much for SMCI. That's just too crazy to me. It's starting to slow down a bit, so the first red candle is when I'm going to look short on the 3-minute. It's that simple.
Adara had the question of the day when she asked about Moderna, 130 or 160 right there. We were favoring the 160 for good news. We both talked about, we had hoped that it got.
Well, I wanted the long. I just wanted the long at the dip.
Yeah, we thought that the 130 was going to be good support. I didn't think 140 meant anything, but apparently today, the good news, and I was talking about it even, I said, this is an optionable trade. You could buy options on Moderna. I thought there was a good opportunity for it to go higher. Now, the premium on that probably ridiculous. Man, if you can't tell, we're in a great mood right now. We're done for the day, man. We were done for the day at 9:40, let alone what's happening right now. As now Nvidia is just 215. Like, what world are we even in right now? As this just continues to climb higher and higher and higher. Obviously, wish we had held out for the whole kit and caboodle to the upside, but we still do have a piece left. Just under 10% right now left for Moderna, for Nvidia. DFNS, man. Nice move, halting around $13. It's really the only halter right now. MRAX opening up, CMCT. Nothing really going on in these markets, so we're going to pass on that one. I know Neil looked at Intel earlier, but this is another idea that we had today. Just, I don't Nvidia, but Intel today, really nothing, a nothing burger so far, trying to figure itself out. AMD did catch an upgrade, so we did want to have a quick look at AMD today, and that makes sense that it's kind of stair-stepping a little bit higher. Bouncing off VWAP was obviously a decent trade right there for AMD, but so far, kind of just cruising around and not doing a whole heck of a lot today is AMD. We did want to take a look at SpaceX, because I do think yesterday we had a big short right here at 138. And that's exactly what happened again there on SpaceX. So definitely worth a look here if we get back up into that 138 level for SPCX. Like I said, yesterday was a monster trade actually on that stock. So we'll look to see if we can do something again over there on Moderna, on Moderna, I keep thinking about it, on SpaceX. Hoping for that big move there. I don't know if we're going to get it today, but it's kind of just hovering like that. But yesterday we waited, man. We waited for it to settle out right there. We got hit early. It was actually early in the morning on SpaceX where we got hit there, and then we got that short all the way back in. So it's almost making the exact same move again where we ran 138. It's too bad. I think if we were looking here, we could have put a lot of damage on the board here, but went up to 138. That short was good again, down to 136, but let's give it a little bit of breath here. Bouncing off of 136.50 right now is SPCX. So let us know what you guys are trading. We do have that board up right now. We call it the stock visualizer, and we can, at that point, be able to see, what you guys are looking at. I think probably SpaceX is probably near the top of that list. I hope Nvidia is for most of you. This name now it is $4 from the bottom, but just hanging out near. I'm going to take out one more piece, get down to roughly, we're under 10%, but get down to that, 6-7% right there. If we can catch one more uptick, I'm at 214.25. You know what? Let's just go right here at 14s. There it is. So we get that fill now, and we go under that 10%, 7% left right now on Nvidia long, and looking for some more opportunities. But let us know what you guys are looking at. SMCI. Okay, good. You're on that.
SMCI just put in the first red on the 3-minute, but you know what? I still see some buyers coming in. I'm going to go tight stop because I don't want to give it to the absolute high of the day. Look at these wicks. I feel like if you just give it to the high, you're just asking to lose even more. But this will be a VWAP retracement plan. We said it was the first available red that we go for, and that's pretty much what we're doing. But again, I'm going to give it a relatively tight stop. We do have some super chats that we're going to get to in a second. But I had the visualizer up as you were saying that. Here we go.
What does it look like?
Well, it was DAIC a second ago, but all the Nvidia mentioned just put it to the top. Did we talk about this one?
But DAIC was yesterday. I don't even see it halting today, so I'm a little bit
confused by that one. Why is that one? Okay, anyways, we'll get to that in a second. AMIX, another small capper, SpaceX, the criminal, Moderna, Dix, Intel, Marvell. I don't know RZLV, AMD, Bloom Energy. Marvell definitely was a bigger runner than I think many people realize. It's up like 6% here today is Marvell. But a lot of these names, look, the entire... Dang, I knew it was going to happen.
What happened?
Nah, the chart
crashed. Marvell up that.
Yeah, I can show the 15. I want to be able to show you guys the candle, but I flip too fast sometimes, and then the chart goes and decides to crash on me. But Marvell 6 points, closing in on that gap that you saw from Friday. I'll make sure I can get that chart back up live. I did got one bid on SMCI, and I'll show you here. So it came back into this prior high, but already bouncing. This is why a tight stop. So it was. Excuse me.
Bless you.
It was the first red on the 3-minute. But a tighter stop because it's still pretty bullish on the 15. And I like to play into VWAP, which also coincides with Friday's close price. So it's a bit of a tighter stop trade on a reversion than I normally would do. I'll get that chart back live.
I love this right here. Thank you, Easy Peasy, again. He says, the Swami calls it again, $3 in the money on Nvidia. So we thank you to that Easy Peasy. We really love that one. So thank you for all the fun we had yesterday, including some of those AI images. That was a heck of a lot of fun. We want to thank you, Mr. Peasy, for that. That was a lot of fun. So keep those coming, and we'll have a good time together, I'm sure. All right, another out there at 213.80s, as it looks like we are retracing back in. I wanted to call this up because the stop order is now in, breaking through 213. So if we do break that 212, I just want to go to the 25 period, right? So 212. All right, it's basically just a 212 break. Or 213 break. Let's go to 212.89. We'll get out of 100% of that one if it indeed does come back in. So that's going to be a little bit of a level to look at there for Nvidia on your 25 period. We could potentially reload this thing. I mean, there's no doubt about that. If those levels do come in one more time. And of course, what the levels I'm talking about there would be VWAP, so around 212. If that's a level, then we'll take it and give ourselves a little bit of a chance at that trade for NVDA, the 212 coming in. Look, I said, you said about Affirm and some of the fintech. I've been not liking the fintech space for a while, but it doesn't mean anything. Affirm has been okay. It's been hovering around here. We saw that big hit from Klarna. Right now, Affirm not doing a whole heck of a lot. It did, for some reason, just show up on the scanner. I guess they're bouncing or coming through VWAP right now. But a little bit of a gap there. I don't know what happened. 76.40 up to 77. Maybe our chart is missing something, but did show up there on the scanner as a nice break. And I think we always talk about diversification. And look, we love to talk trading on the show, both long-term, short-term, obviously day trading, scalping. But, you know, J&J's been a real nice move in the account. I mean, we had bought this name down here at 220 and talked to you guys about this, trying to diversify a little bit outside of some of the AI space. Like, if this circular financing thing and there's some sort of a drop down, you know, with this whole data center and with the, you know, the Nvidias and the chips of the world, you do want to be into other names. These names will rocket if the other names start to come back, because people want to put their money to work still. So I do like the J&Js of the world, you know, and exactly this, the XBI. Obviously, you're going to get outsized moves over the last week because of Moderna and what that's meant for the space. But the XBI has really been, again, another great ETF to bid in. I really like the story here with healthcare and biotech. So these names continue to work as well. That DAIC, Neil, that was one of the ones that was on the list. And I think it's just maybe from yesterday. Oh, it's already done 65 million.
It's
so
crushing it right now.
Yeah, I take that back. I didn't realize the volume was there. It hasn't halted. So that's why I didn't see it on the scanner. So I was wondering about that. But it has bounced nicely off $4. So DAIC may be worth a look for some of you guys out there. Yeah. I didn't even realize you had it up on your screen.
It's
so
got,
what are you looking
I don't
at?
know. There was delisting risk. They got like a
delisting risk.
I don't know. That was the story I saw. Like more delisting risk. We have numbers coming in and happening now. But before we get to that, just very, very quickly, I said it makes more sense to go with a tight stop on SMCI, just not let it drift all the way to the high. So we did get out. I'd rather have a flat trade than try to hold this one too far against. So we got in where the only red has come into the game, but this one looks like it's still heading to the upside. We'll allow it to make a lower high, but we got to get to the desk because we got a number.
We actually have a couple numbers here. So we've got new home sales, 607,000. That's going to be below the prior print of 628,000. It's also going to be below the forecast here of 620,000. So lower than expected, lower than prior number here for new home sales for July. New home sales month over month, of course, lower than expected. We also get a lower than expected month over month print. Negative 10.5% versus 1.6% prior and negative 1.3% as the forecast. CB consumer confidence, 89.4%. That's going to be below the prior print of 90.2 and that forecast here of 90.9. So consumers a little bit less confident than what we were expecting. SPY, though, still higher on the day, a little bit below, though, that pre-market high and where we opened. NASDAQ holding up pretty well. This low here, session low from early this morning around 710.80, could be coming into play in a matter of seconds. Let's talk about earnings, because earnings are definitely in focus here today. And I think the biggest mover at earnings by far is going to be Dick's Sporting Goods. If you're seeing some weakness in Nike and wondering why, this is very likely the culprit. You had a miss here on Q2 EPS. You had a miss on sales. They maintained aspects of their guidance, but they also lowered aspects of their guidance for fiscal 2026, specifically with regards to Foot Locker, which they acquired in 2025. Other earnings in focus this week include Nvidia, CrowdStrike, CRM, IREN, Affirm. And speaking of NVDA, AMD, its peer in the chip sector, is in focus here after getting upgraded by Raymond James to strong buy with a $641 price target. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Stick with us. For now, we're going to send you over to Sean and Neil.
Yeah, definitely make sure you do hit that like and subscribe, and also pay attention to this offer. Here's a trader offer that you cannot refuse. These markets have been extremely active lately, and that, of course, creates big momentum, which in turn creates big opportunity. But to take advantage of these conditions, of course, you need to be sized properly, and you need discipline and access to capital. And that's where Trade the Pool comes in. Instead of being limited by the size of your own account, traders can access firm capital and use their strategies to manage their own risk. No more fear of blowing up your personal account. No more moving your stop loss too early because you're worried about your savings. This is what we call limited risk trading. So if you want to take advantage of volatility in today's markets, make sure you do that without risking your own capital. And please visit tradethepool.com for more information regarding their offerings. So we want to say a big shout out to trade the pool and their continued support here of Trader TV Live. Yeah, guys, that move down there in on the market and with that housing drop was enough to break through 213 on NVDA. So that exits that trade, and it was a banger and a chicken dinner winner. So we're really happy with the way that trade wound up basing out for us. So let's just keep the momentum moving now, and hopefully to the high side of this trade as well for NVIDIA. If you guys are still in this, I still like the trade. It's just not really sure where we're going to go from here. I would still like VWAP. We'll see if it does catch that bid. And his SpaceX moving to new highs now as well. Just touched 138 again. So, leaving this one for now. SpaceX a little choppy early, but watching out for that 138.50 top. Maybe that top is now in for SpaceX. Let's give it a shot there, as I need to take a sip of water.
Yeah, I feel like there was just obviously there was a bit of a reverse, I guess, in the market. Market came down a little bit, and so silver went to the upside. We did get out just above the break even, so it broke the VWAP. Not going to get back in here because when the market was going higher, this was working to the short side. Obviously, it was a nice short back into the low, but now that the market seems like we're breaking down, it might change the litmus. If the metals are going to be weak and the market is going to lose that, strong, and then the market's going to lose that bit of a bid. So I was expecting that we'd see a little more strength in the NASDAQ today. And now that we're not getting it, let's wait for it to get back to the prior high. I think IBIT could at least be a play. It was a bit of a choice between which short did I prefer. I lent to silver just because how strong crypto had been, but it would have made sense. Either one of them would have made sense. And even this is getting to VWAP. Maybe allow it to fail the volume weighted average price first, and that would be a better play. Moderna never got close to that 160 level. I mean, 155 is pretty close, but no real press into 160 to look like some kind of a short. So I don't know if Moderna is going to be the next. So now I'm kind of, we're hunting. Like the breakout trade in Moderna was a good scalp at this point, but I don't really see anything that's setting up in the moment. I do want to note that I still can't remember the last time I saw an earnings name that chart looked like this. We've seen down 25% a million times. It happens all the time. When was the last time you saw selling in this? Like you draw a line of best fit, and it's just really easy to do. Like it's crazy on Dick's Sporting Goods. They're not even trying to find a bid on this. It's unreal how bad this is dropping. 25%. You're at 134. I think I still have the monthly chart up on this. Like there's nothing in here. I mean, on the monthly until you get to about $100. I suppose if I put a weekly chart up, maybe you could find some levels. But this is almost like the second that the behavior changes, you feel like a real bid could come into this. The weekly looks just as nasty. Like there's nothing to rest your hat on until maybe 100. You can squint hard and say 118 to 120 could be a level. But this is program selling on Dick's. It's just Dumpsville. A trend break on this will be, I think, could be epic. But the problem is it's epic because of how far it's falling, and in too early is going to be trouble. I need to find some kind of an entry where the risk to reward looks really good and I can have a very tight stop to get a good gain, like on SMCI, so that if it doesn't work, if it works halfway or even a little bit, I want to be able to be flat. And if it doesn't work, I don't want to get destroyed. So we're going to have to be really patient with Dick's Sporting Goods. They are getting smoked right now.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Oh, I disconnected from my.
I know it was bad, but
all right,
that bad?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that. I think it was just that 150 break. Like once we broke that bottom there, I think there was a huge problem, obviously, there with Iran coming out with this news story right now. Oh, this is OpenAI. Oh, I just saw the.
I thought it was.
Says its jalapeno chip beat Nvidia's. OpenAI says its jalapeno chip beat NVIDIA GB300s. Okay, those are a little bit old in inference tests. So okay, that's nice. I mean, there's going to be some more people. We talked about what NVIDIA's
beating an old chip.
Yeah, main cases, right? Is the fact that what kind of studies they have moving forward as far as the the quality of their chips as opposed to what everybody else is making. So, if you want to get involved in that, OpenAI, I mean, huge investors with Microsoft, right now not a public company. So, is NVIDIA going down on that news? No. They only fell during that, if you come to the chart here, they only fell during that housing sort of number there. But obviously it's had a nice day for Nvidia. So not an immediate impact there. We can have a quick look to see if Microsoft is doing anything right now. What an investment Microsoft made into OpenAI, right? Yeah, so nothing really going on there as well. So I think this is just a story about like, hey, there's going to be more competition coming for everybody, right? Custom ASICs, you sort of mentioned Marvell earlier today. And we mentioned this yesterday when we said Marvell, ARM, some of these core weaves, these names could be up 5 or 6% on any given day or down the same as well. SK Hynix waiting to get into some levels. I mean, the fact that Micron has orders like booked out to 2030 and things like that is pretty unbelievable. So there's going to be some names that get bought back up on dips, right? And I think even on a Micron, we talked about names not being near the 200 period moving average. Let's see where Micron's is. 640. It's at 940 right now. So it's still a huge runway, I think, for Micron. What a great buy that was. We talked earlier at the beginning of the show about situational awareness. Like the fact that this got to 730, I mean, that if you had known, I mean, and many people did, right? More people made money on the way back up than they lost on the way down, that's for sure, knowing that kind of a bounce was going to happen. But yeah, Micron, definitely another name that's getting bought up. I mean, it's up 2%, but, has been getting bought up here. Hopefully that trend can continue. Eli Lilly having a hard time near all-time highs, but hey, I still love that word, all-time highs, that phrase, and that's really nice. When
you're still saying it, it's all good.
Yeah, when you own stock like that, it's real nice. And I actually think this is right now going to be like that next play again for me to get more Eli Lilly. And it kind of sounds crazy that you'll buy more near the highs, but it's just right now. It already took down this 1250. It's now trying to hold it. I wrote down this at 1240 just to match. But at the end of the day, this name consolidating above highs, Neil, above this breakout level, looks like the long is kind of gearing up again for Eli Lilly.
My only thing with that space is I would think that after the Moderna news, there's some kind of a pullback.
Yeah.
Right? It's anything that big in the sector, it's like the next pullback is what you want to buy. So it's a matter of how, like, when that's going to, because to me, it hasn't happened. Like, it's off nothing off the top. And if that's the only pullback it gives, I'd be a little bit surprised. So like all those, that looks good. I think if you get one on like CRISPR, it could be interesting if you get one. As while Bitcoin is weak and the market's weak, this is a great sign. Look what's going. SoFi is going up in a weak NASDAQ and a nothing crypto market. Robinhood is going up, maybe not doing much more than anything than giving back getting back some of the prior gains. But hey, you're finding some real strength here. And Pure Ecstasy says Pfizer is going. Yeah, that's nice. You do your thing, Pfizer. Go from 26 to 30. Fail. And then remind everybody why you like it. Oh, sorry. It doesn't even get to 30 on these moves. 26 to 29. And maybe this is the time that Pfizer decides to join the party. We crap on this stock enough. It could be. But Merck has just been better. Look at how sideways. Look at that. Some people like to call it accumulation. I call it accumulation when I like the stock, and then I call it trash when I don't like the stock. But I guess in reality, this actually does look like good accumulation. Maybe I'm not paying enough attention to Pfizer. I haven't touched this stock since COVID, because for obvious reasons, it was a good long during COVID. No, this looks really interesting. No, this does look good on Pfizer. I've crapped on it a lot, but this does look pretty solid. Look at how long it's held, higher lows. It's not a rounded bottom, but it's back above both moving averages. They flatten out. The 200 period's actually upward sloping on Pfizer. It really isn't that bad. The more I look at this, maybe it's time to at least consider this stock. But I still believe it's a heck of a lot easier, and this is always true. It's so much easier to buy the dip on a strong stock as a pattern than trying to find the low on one that you think, oh, I'm going to get the bottom and it's going to be fantastic. Or Exhibit A. You could have just, after breakout, you could have just bought any dip on Merck and been absolutely laughing. It's just much easier way to play the markets.
Yeah. All right. Coach wanted me to, what's up to everybody in the chat here? Coach says, hit the, be like water, but above that, he said, hit the hot dog cannon. I said, for what trade? He hasn't necessarily got back to me yet, but there's the hot dog cannon for anybody's trading today or just amusement right there. It's too bad. Like, Nvidia, look, we got out to 14.50. It's been a good trade there, but I want to move on. Intel, we wrote down 88, man. It got to 88.35. I'm bidding 88.20. Almost got it. I still want to try it out some Intel down here near $88. It was another name that we wrote down on our watch list today. On the sticky note, 88 bucks was written down there. So we definitely like that level. And if we can get something in and around there, we will do it on Intel. So that's going to be a quick little Intel on that stock. Hopefully it does make some moves. You already covered some SoFi over there. All right, what's moving around? ABTB, nope. SMTK, nope. Well,
there's a super chat.
Halting right there. That's not bad. Yeah, let's go over anything over there.
The only 4.0.
Yeah.
I guess you could say it's raining DKS.
It sure is.
Yes.
There today. What is this? What is this? A WNBA game over here? They're throwing those things on the court. I don't know what's up with that.
Apparently, it's been a thing for a while.
Has it? Okay, because my kid asked me.
It's crazy.
They must have saw something on TikTok or something.
Like you're wilding out for that one if they're doing that nonsense.
Yeah. So.
No, yeah. I don't know what to tell you outside of the fact that, look, they missed. You miss in the top. You miss the top and bottom, and they can find anything when it comes to growth. And the Foot Locker actually. I don't know that anybody was thinking 25%. Our program monitor just died. I don't think anybody was thinking 25%. I certainly wasn't. But anybody that bought the open thinking you're getting a relief rally, it was just so quickly dead. It's trying to break this trend. There's no key level down here, but there's at least a little something trying to happen.
Now, this is how you know Fabian has showed up. The audio is now fixed.
Let's go.
There we go. We say thank you to Fabian for all of that one. Everyone is loving
everyone's like
the audio now. Good. So there we go. We told you guys that we would have a fix in there. Fabian was working his magic last night, improving many different aspects, and I guess the audio now flicked over. So we want to say thank you to everybody for all of your patience. We told you we'd get that done. Fabian, not only donating the hair, but fixing everyone's audio issues there today. There you go. Fabian's your hero. So yeah, now it's time to donate, man. That was literally Fabian. So thank you for doing that. And I knew it was fixed the minute I saw the chat and everyone telling us that they can hear again. You know, the seas have once again parted.
I can hear clearly now.
There's how you can help support, not the show, but kids.
Well, I mean, look, obviously you can support the show by just hitting the like and subscribe, sending positive thoughts in the chat. But more importantly, hey, we're at 90% of the new goal, which is 6K. But I'm going to tell you, when it comes to this angel hair for kids, the key thing is every $2,500 raised is another wig. Yeah. Right, so we're at 2 because we've hit the 5,000 mark. Fabian's cutting off 28 inches of his hair on Friday. This Friday, we'd like to at least get to that 75K mark so that we can get a third one in this. So thank you guys so much for contributing.
Yeah, new trade alert. We're short SpaceX. It's 30 cents in the money. We didn't take it. It just went down to 137.40s right here on SPCX. So new trade alert happening. If you want to come over to the screen, there it is. Give me that bid. Oh, we just missed us again. We're bidding 46s. At some point, the camera's, DKS, one more screen over. But doesn't matter anyways. We are short. Yeah, that's still Neil's screen. That's okay. My screen not participating right now, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. We are long. There it is. We get that fill right there on SpaceX as the short is now hopefully coming in. We'll take VWAP is at 120, is right there, 137.20. So we could take another fill there if it does come through. But just trying to short it. We've had that move up through 138. We just had sort of another one. It stalled at 138. So we're now bidding 137.30s. Hopefully we can get that. And then there it is. Yes, sir. Let's go, man. 2 for 2 on the bangers right there so far today. Let's see how low SpaceX can go. I mean, I still want to stop out if we take out the high of the day. We'll take something here if it comes back up into 20s, but the stop remains where it is, man, 138.60. So we do want to make sure to capture. Let's take some more profit down here in the teens. Let's put another bid right in front of O's, and then we can see if we can hold the rest of this one right there. But here it comes back in. We did this yesterday. We put on a big trade up near 138, and we just put it on again. So not as big this time as yesterday, but, trying to see if we can, start stack up a little bit. Our Nvidia trade was the one for me. We're already, we made the money there today on this, but we are going to try to put a little bit more in our pocket now. As we're bidding 137.01s, I don't really know why we're doing that, and when it just bounced off of us. So let's maybe bid outside a little bit now and take something a little bit more aggressive than the 01s. But there it goes to the downside. SpaceX, we got it. Here, I'll just put it right there. We'll see if we could take that. and 16s on SpaceX, and then we'll work off of that. But so far, so good there for SpaceX. Here, I didn't even put it out. Let's bid. There it is. We get 13. So a nice little smooth 70 cents right now on SPCX. And it just goes with, trade for me, trade the names that are pretty active. So that's why we're on SMCI. That kind of came out of nowhere. SpaceX, definitely love the stock and love how it's trading right now. Short side there on SpaceX. We'll go 2 for 2 to start with. But hey, man, it's still early. It's only 10:17.
Absolutely. And SMCI did have a news story. It wasn't necessarily I don't think it made the rundown.
No.
But it did have a story. There was the Cisco team up with SMCI. I believe it was Sarda in the chat. Obviously knows how I think. We had a bit front end, but it was more of a trend. It was the trend breaking because I believe that we had the first red candle, right? And then the second that broke out, we jumped out. But now you have a difference. See that fail at 38? And then the lower highs, this is a little bit more back end of the trade on SMCI. I did try to grab it. Why did I have an offer above 38? Well, because I think I was getting greedy, but I don't need that one up there anymore. So on this wick here that couldn't break this higher low, that's where I wanted to get in. Didn't get anything until 85. I also have a 95 order. I'd like to be 37.9 would be the price that we want, and then we just give it to the topping tail. So it's about 20 cents worth of risk. But again, it's just the reversion trade that we like. Still, DKS is failing. Well, you know what? It just put in 2 green candles in a row. They're not very big, but that's still 2 green candles in a row for the first time, well, since, I guess, the pre-market. I guess right at the open, the pre-market and the open. So the low, there's not much you can do about the scaling when it's down this far. That's just how it's going to look on the chart. But we've just held the 133 level on DKS. So in terms of a reversion trade, there's probably nothing that's going to rival this. I'm going to try to jump in if I can in front of the 133. The low of the day is just underneath 133 even. So call it 132.88. At least that's what P-Pro8's telling me. So I'm going to actually trust that. If it makes a fresh low, we're out. I'm just sort of sitting on the bid. VWAP is $5 to $6 away. I'd look back first to about 137. That was the lone green candle until the ones that we're seeing now. So SMCI, we're going back to that play. And Dix, we're going to take our first shot at Moderna. Not really seeing any obvious entries at this time to get back into Moderna. It doesn't want... Hey, where's my VWAP? That's crazy. I don't know why my VWAP is gone on this chart. Anyways. It's kind of weird.
Was it a new one? Or?
I don't know, but VWAP's at about 150 on Moderna. My black chart, which is the one when I look up, that's what I'm showing you guys. The 150 looks like a bit of a shot there for MRNA, but it's $3 away from pulling back into VWAP, so we'll have to be patient for any kind of re-entry there. Let's go up to Adara, see how the small caps are doing in that DAIC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
DAIC actually the first small cap on the list. No news on CID Holdco. There wasn't any news on this yesterday as well with that multi-halt. $8.25 million market cap, 1.34 million share float. Next up here, we're going to talk about TNMG. This one was actually our watch list this morning. TNL Media Gene. They were granted continued NASDAQ listing, but it was subject to conditions. So they have to get their house in order, so to speak, for NASDAQ compliance. I think there's 2 different metrics they have to meet as of, I think, September and October of 2026 to stay on the NASDAQ. They're good for now, though, with a $1.79 million market cap, 2.27 million share float, and a 12.3% short float. Last but not least, Net Capital. NCPL, this name to the upside, actually nearing these pre-market highs again now here. No news on this for today, but going back to August 12th, they actually had some bad news. The SEC filed a civil complaint against them. So about 2 weeks ago, you get that SEC civil complaint. No news that I'm seeing since, but you do have a $2.37 million market cap and a 4.38 million share float. Back to you.
Okay, thanks, Adair. There, yeah, some small cap names definitely moving around there today. I mean, it's not for me. It's not really a small cap world type today. The one trade that I wanted to, first of all, we're just gonna I'm bidding 136.75. Hopefully that can come through on SpaceX. Pretty choppy this morning. I mean, not much going on. So we're just gonna bid down there. If it hits, it hits, man. I'm out of exactly half now.
I have a theory about this DCIC.
Oh, DAIC.
DAIC.
Yeah, okay, go. Let's hear.
Very quickly, but just first things first. Dix.
Uh-oh.
Oh, sorry. DK. For the love of God. Okay, so we always say this. If you get into a position, because I just did a fat finger on DKS, and the first thing you should do is get out. I got very lucky with the fat finger in that when I placed the bid and filled the order, I think the market just was like, oh, there's a buyer here after getting too many shares. So therefore, someone else was like, oh, I'm going to follow that buyer. The second I saw someone follow the entry in, I use them for exit liquidity, basically. But I am in where we wanted, which was at the 34 and giving it to 33. But back to DAIC, which is, I don't even know the name of this stock, and it doesn't really matter what the name, CID Holdco. So we've seen this story before. Like, look at how much this is riding the volume weighted average price in an almost unprecedented. Like, look how clean this is off of VWAP, right? There's no new story. We've already seen it go once yesterday where it's like a halt fest. But the second it loses the volume weighted average price, it's almost like you just want that. Just take a shot. Like, it's holding. But if you take the short through, and again, you have to pay for locates, it's almost worth the risk to reward, because if it goes into the down halt, great. You're in it. Otherwise, you could be short through a $4 break with a 4.20 to 4.30 stops. You risk 20 to 30 cents. If it works, you're halting down. If it doesn't work, you're risking 30 cents. So and especially on dates, I'm thinking more than day 2 or day 3, this is the way that you would want to play it. Maybe not on day 1, but this stock wasn't halting at all when it was going up, and it was halting a million times. So the first halt here down, because I feel like it's more of a day 2 kind of thing. But anyways, that's the next time I see something like DAIC. And again, it doesn't really matter what the company's called. All right, so DKS, want to reiterate, 136 to 137 would be the real target here instead of the volume weighted average price, because it's been so weak. But giving it to the low here, so every dollar is going to matter. Every time it goes up a buck, I want to be taking some out up to 136 and leave one piece on for the volume weighted average price, which seems like a pipe dream the way they've been battering the stock. SMCI, the re-entry on that one, we're just sitting in the short off of the high on SMCI, but there hasn't been any real pullback into VWAP. The market's turning, but this doesn't seem to want to turn as much. Yeah, so I'm going to get my bids out in front of VWAP here just to make sure that we can get the profit if it decides it wants to turn around. It was a Cisco SMCI team up that was the story on SMCI, up 8%. I mean, Cisco probably not as exciting, like, for obvious reasons. It doesn't have like the short float or anything going on. No. Cisco's actually down on the day. I'm not ignoring Cisco. We said the story 3 times and pulled up SMCI because SMCI is the one that's actually moving.
All right, so here we go again, man. New trade idea. And it's not new if you've been following me. If you're on the sticky note right there, hopefully you're long 88 bucks. I mean, this is the trade for Intel that we wanted. It came right in to 88.20. We talked about sitting there. It just filled us, and there it goes to the upside. Man, oh man, are we having ourselves a day here? I don't know what else to tell everybody, but this is a day today. Now it's starting to go to the downside or upside on Intel as that continues to work out for us. So yeah, let's take another offer here at 55 if we can get it. There it goes again. I'm waiting at 65 for another fill there. We're going to go 3 for 3 and pretty big trades there today. And it's, again, I feel like being patient has really been the whole thing for me and nothing really else, because, you know, sitting here being patient has allowed us to get the levels that we want, right? I mean, I'm going to, again, just kind of just show this. And it's not, look, the sticky note is well loved on the show, but it's just, it's Nvidia long, it's Intel. It's everything that makes sense to me here as we continue to watch out for the trade. SpaceX 135, if it gets to that, fine. We went the other way and went short 138. And there's our Intel long. The IBIT short didn't hit. It went the other way. Well, IBIT short was fine, but didn't hit our levels. But Intel did. So it just came in there. We bought it. And so far, so good as it continues to climb to the high side right now, putting some of that money you know, in our pocket has been a nice one there. Our best fill has been 65. We'll take another fill right there at 60. And right now, man, we have a quarter left. Half left. Quarter left of SpaceX. Half left right there of Intel as we continue to climb right there. Low of the day. And it's not that it is the low of the day, but that has nothing to do with it. We were just sitting there, right? I mean, this could have ran, it did go against us a bit. It went to 88.12s or so. I was also bidding 88.05. Trying to give it about 20 cents underneath that. My stop right now on this Intel trade is 87.90 break. So we did take a shot there on Intel, and there it goes. And we had to wait till 10:30 to take it, you know, but the time is irrelevant because, you know, all you're really trying to do is make winning trades. And obviously there with Intel as we try to put 3 for 3. Well, we don't try. We put 3 for 3 up right now. And it's been a good one. And, just being conservative on the trades, it doesn't matter. You could win. You could go, we already talked about this, you go 1 for 5 and be up. I mean, it's not about that. It's just when the ideas work, it's nice to see, and then you can gain confidence, and maybe tomorrow is just another day, and you can even get maybe a little bit more aggressive tomorrow if your chart reading is working out. And, that's the advantage of, us being on the prop floor. We can trade with other people's capital, up our shares, lower our shares, not worry about our own personal risk, just try to hit some of the daily goals, some of the monthly goals, and make the money that, is satisfactory for you. Everybody has different ideas on what an income is, and that's what makes trading the best. Whether or not you're these huge whales. We talked about that situational awareness. Like if I'm in the money $30 billion, I probably take it. Others don't, So there's that.
That guy's still up on the year.
Yeah, I know.
The fund is up a lot on the year. That's the crazy.
No, yeah. I mean, it's great, and they'll be back, right? And it's just like that's part of the game, right? So trader.
Actually,
yeah, go ahead.
To that point, because just to expand on that point perfectly, that fund being up on the year tells you a story. They got liquidated to the point that they had to be effectively bailed out, and we're still up. That proves the point that it's really, when you get rinsed, if you take a trade that you're like, oh, I got rinsed on that, ask yourself a question. Did it ruin your week? Did it ruin your month? If the answer is no, then you're doing something very much right. Right? Like that's the way I always like to look at it. Like, did SMCI work? It was a flat trade the first time. It was a losing trade the second time, but the loss is relatively small, and that's all that really matters. So the plan of action, it comes down to what does it look like when you're wrong compared to when you're right on whatever the strategy might be. The market is saying that buying Dick's is wrong, or buying Dick's Sporting Goods is wrong.
So far today.
That being said, it did, again, sorry about the scaling here, but it is what it is. I keep having to zoom in and zoom out so you can get a better sense of the movement. It did bounce off, was able to get that first dollar move off of the lows. I'm not feeling the reload unless it's right off of the bottom, but it has put in a little bit of a nice rebound. So I'm going to try to reload this if I can closer to a little bit closer to that low at the 133. But we'll see. I'm not going to let this make a fresh low. This is not a hill that I'm going to want to die on by any stretch of the imagination. And that small capper, if everyone was interested in, the halt to the downside on DAIC has continued lower. That was what I forgot to do. When a stock like this fails VWAP, I usually go pay for locates, which I haven't done yet. I'm just going to double check to see if we have them free. Of course, we do not. Not surprised by that. But I'm going to look for the short under VWAP on DAIC, but I got to go pay for. Well, something just happened on SMCI.
Yeah, even Intel.
What just happened?
Just hit low.
Anything
we're gonna
there?
find out. I don't hear anything in my ear anymore.
Neither do I.
Okay, we'll go to Adara.
Adara?
Yeah, lately, if I see any kind of drop in the market, the first thing I do is I check Trump Truth. He posted this, I think, like seconds ago. President Trump on Truth Social, quote, "I have just been informed by the United States Navy that all mines have been removed and or detonated from within the international waters of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has been notified that any ship or boat placing new mines will be immediately and systematically destroyed. Through Space Force, we are watching every square inch of the strait, as we are also with Pickaxe Mountain and the already destroyed 3 other nuclear sites. There is a zero-tolerance policy on placement in full force and effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump." So basically, President Trump coming out here and saying that the U.S. Navy has claimed to have removed and or detonated any mines from the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran puts any more, any new mines will, quote, "be immediately and systematically destroyed." Back to you.
We took, thanks, Adara. We took advantage of that, as a trader should probably. But it's been very, very aggressive on that oil news sometimes. And, you never know what's going to happen. I was a little nervous. So I was still bidding 88.05. You know where it bounced off? 88.07. But we took it at 88.25 or 20. What was the fill? 23s. I just punched in. So we liked the Intel long there. Once I realized it wasn't a chip story, we bought it. So we bought more there. We're getting some more out. There it is. There's a 60 fill. Back-to-back jacks right there. Another 40-cent winner coming in on Intel. We reloaded it. So that's a good trade right there. Now let's go. Here we go. Holy shoot. Yes, Intel. Let's go, man. We are, like I said, man, like a gambler. We're reading the board well these days, man. SpaceX, nice. SpaceX going higher, but it's Intel where my concern is right now as that continues to go higher off of another dip buy at $88. So, we're just following our own sort of moves here. Intel going higher right now. About this, I'm waiting for 138.20s, so we may get that fill. I'm literally at 138.19. How did that not fill me, but I'm assuming it will? Wow, it just bounced completely off my level. That went, I thought I was getting that fill. It went to I see a 138, I guess 19 is the high. That's where we're sitting. Let's see if we get that. Again, stop out upside there around 130. Wow, that's too bad. Around 136, 138.60 would be the stop. Man, that's really too bad because we could have just had that trade there and we missed it. So SpaceX, literally bouncing off of us. I was sitting there at 138.20s, 138.19s, and that's the high right there. Wow. Okay, sometimes we get those fills, sometimes we don't. There we do not. That would have been real sweet to have grabbed that. But yeah, so far so good. People saying Nvidia gave everything back. Yes, it did. This is why we're not in it, man, right now. That's not why, but it hit our goals. We had a nice high move. But yeah, Nvidia and the market really flushing downside right now. Good area to buy, the 200 period moving average. I'm going to let this market settle down a bit. But wow, that SpaceX, what a miss. We were just right there, and we missed that top side. But hey, man, we're at almost 3 times the goal here today. It's been a good one on good trading. So looks like the NASDAQ trying to bounce off that. Look at that flush right there, 29,138. Now all the way back to where we were and more off of that move. Good move there by the market.
A great move by the market. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be shorting DAIC because it's a $3.40 stock and the locates cost 47 cents.
Okay.
So you need to, just to break even, you would have to make like a 12% move just to break even, which is absolutely insane. That's not reasonable. Unless the price comes down, I'm not going to be touching it. We'll reload DKS, I should say, as it tries to break. If it breaks the even dollar, I'm going to be jumping out. Fortunately, we can't. There we go. Fortunately, with this, the initial move up gave us a couple of scalp trades for the win. I can't do anything about the scaling. Again, I'm sick and tired of zooming in and zooming out on the stock. But if it breaks the 132, I'm going to jump out of this trade. It doesn't look like this one wants VWAP, unfortunately. So I'm going to shift the attentions, if we lose 32, back over to potentially Moderna. Moderna didn't get to VWAP. Got close, but that wick, which was actually on that post by the president, it looks like that's when we got the wick back into 151.5. Could have thought that could take you into VWAP, but it didn't, so nothing looming there. But there is at least something new happening. Well, that's Bitcoin coming back. That's a V-shaped move on Bitcoin. We're back through the high, so instead of looking bearish, I got to think reversal. It's in an upward trend on the overall trade, and we have VWAP potential here for us in there. So I like any dip into the volume-weighted average price, and we'll mosey on over to Bitcoin. It's that or SLV, but silver is too far away from the volume-weighted average price. Now, we like the short. It was a good short to the low, but we had to get out of it when the market reversed. And I think both those, the metals and crypto, look like reversal plays where we want to buy the dip and just play them into the afternoon. So always willing to flip it around when it does this, because I like that volume-weighted average price for an over-under. And then let us know what else you guys are watching. Because realistically, we pulled up the stock visualizer, which I don't seem to have up anymore.
Oh no.
There we go. And it was that DAIC, which I'm not touching something like that under VWAP if you can't short it. It's got to get back above to be interesting. Nvidia gave the move back. Dix is trying to hold it slow. It's given one bounce. I'm playing the second one. AMIX we haven't looked at. SpaceX Sean's looking at. CRML. Critical metals. What's up with critical metals today?
He came out earlier. Remember you called it criminal there. So
yeah, the criminal's up 17%.
Okay.
We like the criminal. This is Sharif's name for the stock. I actually, outside of it just being CRML, it's nothing bad. I think he just likes to call it that because of the ticker. It's been a very, very good stock. I'm just wanting MP to do something. This one's been worse, though. Much worse than MP. I see Adira singing over there.
Yeah. What's that? Some smooth criminal. All right. We have some action. What's up, Mohammed? Right there. You're on today. Yeah, this is a name from yesterday. This is that hyper liquid fire something. Again, another move higher. And this was talk from the president as well, I believe. That hyperlink, that got this one going up there into $12. So again, like if you are on this, just attention up to everybody. Like this is a spot right now, that $12. We've seen it before. This came back in June when the whole market sort of peaked back in June. Nice downside play, lost half of its value all the way back up. PURR right now going upside right there. I see your DKS fell out there. I just heard in my ear that we were getting lower now on Dick's Sporting Goods. So, tough one there. But there goes.
Not tough. I actually about to tweet it out. If you can survive, you should be short this stock.
Just tough.
You should be short this stock. But if you can survive being long, then you've gotten away with one. There's winning trades and there's getting away with one because you have some discipline.
Yeah. So tough one there for, as I was saying, tough one there for Dick's today. Down 27% and still going, man. I mean, wow. I want to buy this one, and I said you got to give it the 3-day rule. So hopefully we can get into some of this one at some point, but still making a move lower
Maybe
is DKS. But SpaceX right here still bouncing again, like pretty much off our levels. I took 1/10 of a unit there and was like, you know what, let's just get some on SpaceX. I still think that we could just wait for that 20 to come through. There it is, we got it. So I'm going to take it out if it breaks the high of the day. We have half a unit right now. We've already taken profit on this name. Hopefully we do get a move lower, but it's looking like there is a lot of pressure to this name right now, and bouncing off VWAP. We had taken this yesterday, and it was a great trade back into the downside. So I just think the risk to reward on this does seem okay for us now, but the market is battling itself back to the upside right now. So I don't really like going against the current market. And right now the ES, the S&P and everything is looking like it does want to go just that little bit higher. I may actually take this, I was gonna say I might take this opportunity to get out, but it looks like we might not have that opportunity right now. If we can, we'll get something out in the 20s. This is not looking the greatest. If we can sort of get off of this trade a little bit for a little bit of a lighter loser, then we'll do that. There it is. So we do take some out there at 138.26 is there as it does come back in. It just, I don't know, maybe the market is due for a little bit of a run higher right now. So we'll take a little bit out of that trade and just lighten some of the load. Hey, look, if it falls down, we'll be there for it, right? But we'll go from half a unit down to 1/4 of a unit and now not worry so much about this move potentially on SpaceX. We already have the long in Intel. Hopefully that can work. 88.60s maybe coming through there for Intel. Let's take out another piece here, and hopefully everything can sort of combine for us. The long in Intel will work. We can get out of SpaceX if it breaks, and if it doesn't, then we sort of de-levered a little bit here. De-risked ourselves on SpaceX. But all right, 10:40 already, man. When you're having a good time, man, the time flies, and we are having that today. That's for sure here live with all of you. So big successful day with Nvidia today. I know that just came back in. I'm not really looking to reload this name. Like, I was not expecting this move. We were expecting that, not expecting this. So now that we've broken below the 200 period moving average, watch out. Nvidia could be that one that wants to go lower. So hence why we're taking some off there on Intel. Adaro's ready with, again, another segment. Let's go over and see what she's up to.
Yeah, as we all wait to see if Dick's Sporting Goods can break 130, we'll take a moment to look at what's breaking in this sector board. Light green, I would say, is kind of the theme for a lot of these sectors. If you got health technology, some relative strength here, MRK to the upside, Eli Lilly to the upside, consumer durables, mostly actually mixed to red, but Tesla, largest name in this group by far, is green, and it's up about 1%. So kind of makes the sector maybe look a little bit better than it does if you go under the hood. Transportation, I would say lots of strength here in UPS, Uber, CSX, and DoorDash. You've got electronic technology probably looking the best today. Dell up 4.5%, Marvell up 6%, AMD up 4% with that Raymond James upgrade to strong buy, and some other strength here in the likes of GE, Cisco, Intel, Nvidia, all light green. Tech services, I mean, 2 of the 3 Mag 7s in the sector are relatively flat, but one of them, Meta, is green. You've also got strength in the likes of Oracle, Netflix, this name over here, CDNS, so Cadence Design, another former Lipoutin name there to the upside. But then you've also got weakness in some of these SaaS plays like Palantir, Palo Alto Networks, and cybersecurity names like CrowdStrike So yeah, lots to keep an eye on there. If you take a look at finance, some weakness here across the board, though. Certain major banks like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley trying to stay green. Consumer non-durables weak, energy weak, though certainly in focus as President Trump continues to post about Iran. And then retail trade also to the downside. Back to you.
I just said I wish I believed in myself a little bit more. But yeah, SpaceX coming to the downside there. I was a little worried that the market was going to run. So like I said, we did get out of some of the SpaceX. But I mean, honestly, and then for that to happen, so yeah, you know, good moves out here, gets them out in the 90s and in the 80s, and just ringing the register, right? I mean, to take basically a 6-cent hit and then, you know, to take a 50-cent winner. I mean, this is what we're talking about. We're still holding on to this position as it's getting better and better for us right now. We do have a reload in Intel. I don't really consider this. This is more just like one last shot at it. I'm not reloading a serious position down here. I only have a third of a unit. We're waiting for it to break through 88. The market's not really loving this, man. I mean, when Nvidia was going, all these things were really happening. That's all good, but we just take an 88.05 there. So yeah, maybe we should take, here, let's just take 10 cents. So there we go. 12 cents out, a little bit there of Intel, you know, keeping the streak intact here today with the wins. But I don't know. If this breaks lower, it breaks lower. We'll give a little bit back on Intel, but yeah, take a little bit out there for the profit and then see if we can get a little bit of an action play here back to the upside if the market participates with it. But hey, if it doesn't, it doesn't. Take out some more 15s there. You know, a dime there, 30 cents here. Just kind of topping it up. It's only 10:43. There's still a lot more left in this day, including trading with both Obi and Joe coming on the midday.
Yeah, and we'll see what the... I have a sneaky suspicion I might know what Obi's been looking at, but that's just a blind guess because there's been a couple.
Well, I'll tell you, he's traded DKS only today.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, and it was not positive, but he'll talk.
Well, again, like, well, I mean, if you're a reversion trade, if your style of trade is to look for an outsized move and look to play it in like a bounce on a stock going down or a reversion on a stock going up, then it's hard to imagine that DIX wouldn't be on your radar today. I don't see any way around it. Silver is on my radar, and the market's putting in a bit of a bottoming tail candle. Here, I'll show you. So this is the NASDAQ right now. It's been trending down since the open, but you got a bit of a bottoming tail candle. If this reverses upside, I'm just trying to remember that it's been a inverse relationship, silver and gold this morning. So they were trending down when the market was making its bid into the open. And if we make that bounce play, I think you get a trend back in here in SLV. It's double topped. It's gotten all the way before it hit VWAP. I mean, it technically hit VWAP for the bounce play there. You're talking about going into prior day lows and double top in the pre-market. So a trend break here has the top to work with. It's also got that prior support level that we're going to like for sure. But let's be real. You know, the market has to show that it wants some sign of that curl. One place that I can't believe we've gone this long without talking about memory. And we haven't. Whether it's Micron, SanDisk, you know, SK Hynix, which we never seem to look at anymore, they're all pretty weak today. Just a series of lower highs. And I see a pure trend here on DRAM, which you can always play in either direction. It can break the trend and get above VWAP, and then it's a VWAP reclaim, trend break long, or we can wick this top, fail the volume weighted average price, and then short the sucker. But either way, DRAM, I just paid for locates, so they're like fractions of a cent, unlike that DAIC, which I'm going to check to see if it comes down. I can't imagine that stock staying at 47 cents per share for locates. That price is going to come down. It's way too liquid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, once people start to figure that one out, that'll come right back in there again. Yeah, guys, look, I mean, we changed up our trading style quite dramatically over the years, and especially recently, where we are very focused on individual trades, a little longer, trying to, you know, definitely play the risk to reward, trying to up the share size, and all of that. So, you know, today's been just a great day for that. We all talk about the different styles there. I mean, that's been a great one here, just to wait for the bigger moves. And we would keep on reading that, you know, thing about the market. It's been pretty slow the last couple of days with the ranges, but definitely not slow with individual names. And I think that if you are focused on the right space, you can make, outsized gains all over the place. Just like if you were smart enough to have shortened that, DKS, Moderna the other day, we had a $20-something winner on Moderna the other day, and then we followed it up with a $9 winner the day after that, right? And it's just a matter of trying to hold on to a little bit for the bigger moves has made quite a big difference. But, at the end of the day, you still got to have the right calls. And it's been difficult, if you've sort of held on to something that's been wrong. And I just kind of go back to SpaceX, like, look what we're doing right now. Now we're 70 cents in the money as the hot dog cannon just keeps on firing off. But we did, get a little bit less. We were a little nervous about it when I thought the futures were trying to run there. So in order to capture some of the, day's profit and make sure it was staying in our pocket, we did get out. But then when it dips down like that, there we go. So take a 6-cent hit or whatever it was, and then, make about $1 on the other end of it on the way back down. That's, for me, that's been sort of part of the story. And even yesterday when we had SpaceX on this move right there, we got stopped out initially, but then took this, we got stopped out for 50 cents or whatever it was, and then the thing dropped down $5. So you can be right and also be able to scalp out some, hold a little bit more as well. I think a good example of that today would have been Moderna. Look how choppy it is in here. Obviously, you're going to take some profits when this is happening, and you may get out of it all. But look at the reload opportunity. Forget about the initial trade, but we kept on coming back in 151, 152, So if you take out, some reloads there, take a little bit of profit, you can sort of scalp this all the way back up. So if that's your style, reloading and scalping, there's been a lot of opportunities here on a name that's up 12%. And I haven't looked at DKS, but it's probably something similar, giving many different opportunities in that space. And even Intel, the market dropped down, but we had written down 88 from 8 o'clock this morning, and that came in and filled us 3 times down there. Although we're not getting the huge moves, we did have a couple good ones earlier. We're just scalping out now and sort of stacking up some of that money as it comes through. And we wait for tomorrow. We had PCE, we have Jackson Hole. The speeches are coming on Friday over there as well. So, more movements coming in this market, including Nvidia. Yes, Adara?
Expect an infographic on market moves to Jackson Hole speeches coming out very soon. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. It's ready. It depends on how I feel.
All right, maybe there's some to the window to the wall there action.
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Coming through. We do have, like we said, we do have OB. Someone asking in the chat, is it OB at lunchtime? Yes, it is, with Joe from 11 to 2, and then you'll join Neil and I back at 2 p.m. This afternoon.
Thursday, I believe. Shreve's back on Thursday, I want to say, something like that. So you're gonna get OB.
I think it's Friday, but
maybe it's Friday. Well, you're gonna get OB at least today and tomorrow at an absolute bare minimum. So we'll get to look at, and possibly and Thursday as well. So there we go. So you're gonna get him as well. I agree. It's been choppy on Moderna. I think what's interesting about Moderna is the last 2 days I've only had breakout trades. It's only taking it when it's breaking a key level and then just taking the scalp trade. Like it was a clean break here at 138 yesterday. So you allow it to set up. Like it shows it's been holding VWAP, and then it was a clean break. It goes straight into 141. So it's doing these like $2-3 breakouts. It just hasn't set another one up yet, where there's an obvious top at an even dollar. Like it's very dirty at the 155 level. That's already failed a couple of times on Moderna. But it's just about finding your shot, right? If you're looking for a break trade on this sucker. We'll see what happens next on that bad boy. The criminal, which we call critical metals, it's not a criminal, but it has been really respecting VWAP in here. I like that trend to the upside, but there's a couple of things to consider when looking at critical metals. One, it hasn't been a very good looking daily chart. So there's a lot of bag holding levels, and one of the only levels that even sets up around here for, it's not a bag hold level, but for resistance, is $8. So this $8 level, there's nothing till you get to almost the even dollar at 9. So we're gonna go to Adara for money talks. If this false breaks 8, I think it's a scalp short, but probably a dip that's worth being bought because of that overall upward trend in CRML. Still nothing on SLV for the trend. Moderna's still not really doing anything for us for an entry. But we'll see if we can find the next trade in MRNA as we go to money talks.
Oh yeah.
See how the USD is doing. USD yen, I should say.
We can look at the USD yen. Right now, though, I want to take a look at the US dollar. Not too much happening here. Pulling back a little bit after a 3-day green streak. So we broke above yesterday's high. Right now, currently red on the session high of 99.118. low of 98.90, currently trading around that low. We have a whole bunch of economic data tomorrow, so I want to use our time for money talks to prepare you guys for that. PCE year over year. All of this PCE data coming out at 8:30, by the way, tomorrow morning. PCE year over year, 3.3%. That's supposed to be exactly the prior number as well, so we're not expecting any change for PCE year over year. That's core basis. Core PCE month over month, 0.2%. So we're expecting slightly hotter than the prior print of 0.1%. For non-core PCE year over year, 3.6%, expecting to be a little bit cooler than the previous print of 3.7%. PCE month over month, 0.1%, expected to be hotter than the prior print of negative 0.1%. So you're getting cooler to in line here when it comes to year over year numbers, but we're expecting hotter for both core and non-core month over month. That could be significant. As far as GDP goes, 1.5% is the forecast, 1.5% is the prior for that second estimate for GDP for Q2. Also, you're going to get consumer spending, durable goods, lots of data coming down the pipeline tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. And that could change the CME FedWatch tool we see here, depending on what we get. 60% chance of rates being held, 40% chance of a hike, as Sean said this morning. Very unlikely we get any kind of cut, so I would probably get that off your mind. But there is still a chance that we get a hike in December of 2026. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to join us on X at TTV Research in addition to joining us live on the show, because I have a glut of infographics. I have a slew of infographics. I have a bevy of infographics available for you guys on anything and everything all day, from anything from earnings to a lot of this economic data you see in front of you. Back to you.
U of T.
Yeah, so this is right here. This is right beside our office. This is at U of T. This is the captain of the U of T varsity Blues girls hockey team. And my daughter's in here somewhere. And they're doing laps around right now. This is the exact same stadium that my son did his football in, but now they're in the training camp right now, running laps and a few fun pictures, stretching and whatnot, doing their best. They are in there now. They're in their training camp, so I may go have a quick look. I'm picking her up afterwards, but that's a lot of fun there, and it's the reason why I'm here every day, is to pay for all this. Yeah, there goes Intel again. Like, let's go, spin it one more time. There goes Intel. I mean, nice trade there, the long. We bought that 3 times there off of 88, and we sort of talked about why we like that level, and it's a printer there as well. SpaceX gave me a little scare. We got out some more there at 138. We did not average it in. We could have for sure, but a little nervous. Yeah, of course, a little nervous about this name, but why? We'll punch out some more there at 87 if we're lucky enough to get that. And there it is. We get some 87s. But yeah, SpaceX could have reloaded it. We don't do that. We're going to leave you guys today, hopefully with some, dialed in trades. And I think someone in the chat there said that looks like we're dialed in, and yeah, man, we sure are there these last couple days. And then there it goes right now with SpaceX. Could have taken more there, didn't. Bidding, let's bid some 137.50s, man. I mean, that's where VWAP is, I think, yeah. So we'll get a takeout there in the mid 60s, and then hopefully wait for some lower, and we can come back from the gym and see where SpaceX is and where Intel is. I mean, waiting to see if we can get back to VWAP on INTC. So yeah, good day overall here. It's great weather out. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Make sure you do hit the like and the subscribe immediately on this program, because I know you're going to hit it for the lunchtime. So you got to hit it twice. This show and the next one coming through. Yesterday's for lunch was some sort of Thai beef. I have no idea what it'll be today. I'm going to say chicken something. I mean, we often don't go 2 days in a row without
grilled chicken.
So
some sort of grilled chicken is almost guaranteed. Ari Pages, we will not have steak for lunch. I don't think there's ever been anything resolving. Oh, they did like a Salisbury steak one time, the old caterer, which nobody liked.
Yeah.
Because the Salisbury steak is always not that much fun. But we have a super chat. No, it's not a super chat.
Just
Miami Dragons. Someone was born dialed in. It has.
I was born.
It has been a good month. Like, people talk about August as being like one of the slowest months, but that's actually February now statistically. At least that was a couple of years ago that broke. And this has been a pretty solid month. I have to admit, like, August has been pretty good. So, hopefully everyone's dialed in this month as well. And Moderna just broke the high of the day, so there's not going to be a VWAP dip. Sorry.
Get rid of that.
We're just breaking the trend. I remember it said trend break on SLV, so we're getting into that as that confirms the trend break. Stop at the high. Target is going to be the volume-weighted average price. But just as I was doing that, I also looked up and saw Moderna breaking out that top. So once again, Moderna, it wasn't a clean breakout trade for me. I like the ones where it's just like 150 is an obvious level, so it stops short of 150. You take a break at 150. 156 is kind of rando to me. But if you took it, it looks like that one worked too. But you just got to find that one. But there is work because it's like find one spot for a break, and you've been good to go.
You may be right on this one, Juan PD. If you do watch, we do have a Spanish channel out there, and you know, I don't speak Spanish, so we'll leave it at the AI aspect there. But yeah, do appreciate that, Mr. Juan Padilla over there. You know, one of the good viewers of our show for sure. But yeah, there's only a couple minutes left. I mean, nothing really. ADBT halting around a couple times. Oh, here you go. PMI. This is an Amex one. This has really started to moon here today as well. PMI. Name of this company, Picard Medical. So yeah, good going on that one, Captain, as that continues to make a move higher there. SpaceX still 50 cents, Intel 40 cents. This move right back into $9 today for Picard Medical seems to have been a mover. So, you know, definitely one to look at. PMI as we go into the midday, now halted. This one, because we are on the Amex, I know Sharif and Jove talked about this as we have as well. We don't have a tap on that, so not really sure when or where it's going to open. Generally still the 5-minute rule. This last halted at 10:51, so this looks like it'll be 10 minutes on PMI, then we'll open back up there, up 72%. Definitely triggered out right there on a volatility limit down move there for Captain Picard and company. Intel let it moon. We just got another piece out there at 60s, so that was good. Hopefully now we can let this thing go back up to the upside. 10:58 right now. Alibaba, all right. You know, we haven't really looked at Nvidia since that early move. Still 211. I'm not on that right now. Tesla, early day trade. A lot of people looked at this early. Pretty choppy. Not pretty choppy, let's say very choppy right there on our good friend Tesla as that.
EKG.
Yeah, exactly. Up and down, up and down. Watch your heart rate there. Pretty healthy heart rate, I think that might be. 350 dip by bidders coming in, so maybe a move there on Tesla off at 350. I was looking around. I think the futures, although it's not nice to see us underneath VWAP, still think that's a short if we do come back up there. So, you know, look for a short there in the futures if that does come through. Both Obi and Joe, as we said, we know Obi's been trading some DKS. We'll probably talk about that. And then looking for some more opportunities as well to come throughout the day. So, you know, stay tuned, man. 30 seconds away from the flip up. 79.2. Maybe Bitcoin's a trade. It had its move lower early, and there's the rip up to 45. We like to short at 45.30 from yesterday's high, but IBIT nicely battling back to the upside right there. So, you know, we wait for more tariff talks as well, but yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, and with only about 10 seconds to go, DKS round 2 might happen. 130's just held pretty decently. Before it was 132. There was a 132 held into 135 on DKS, and now it looks like 130's holding. So I would think that previous zone of, I guess, muted buying, which is $3 higher, that'll be a spot to look for a potential target out there in DKS. But I'm looking for it to break 131, but the buyers haven't been able to take it above the 131 yet. Once that breaks, they'll look to jump in, just like the last trade. If you risk $1, scalp $1, but 135 would be a target. Because VWAP just seems like that's the dream part of it. Like not hold. You got to be taking profit into the volume weighted average price if you're trying this one to the long side. Because if you're not taking profit when it works for you, it's been trend down the whole way. We're going to have some mystery lunch, which is probably going to be grilled chicken. Let's be real about it. And want to shout out to, and thank you everybody for, we had some issues with obviously with the audio this morning. So thank you for being patient. That's all resolved now. And just in time, because we've got Adobe for you. And that, of course, Joby, I should say, not Adobe. Well, Dara's going to be there as well. C will be there. But Joe and Obi, they'll take you through the midday, and we'll see you back at 2 o'clock.
Ciao.